In order to deal with the relentless pressure from my family to get married, I went online and spent less than $10 to hire a woman, planning to set up a fake marriage. But who could have guessed what would happen at the registry office? The clerk glared at me with absolute disgust, saying, "You're already legally married, and you still came here to register? Do you have any idea that bigamy is a serious crime?" After walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I stared at the official marriage record printout in total shock, while the woman beside me whined in frustration, "Hey, Mr. Dorian, why would you hire me to do a fake marriage if you're already hitched? Just so you know, that deposit is strictly non-refundable. I haven't even so much as held a girl's hand in my entire life. So how on earth could I possibly be married?" I looked down again at the official paper gripped in my hand. The guy in the photo was without a doubt me, while the woman pictured beside me went by the name Shen Yu Chu. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone, snapped a picture of the document, and sent it straight over to a contact with a black avatar. "Help me dig into this woman and find out who she really is." The reply came back instantly, leaving me completely baffled. Riding my battered old electric scooter, I arrived at a luxurious villa complex. The moment I parked my ride, the muffled whispers of the household servants echoed from behind me. "Who is that guy? Dang, he's surprisingly handsome." "Shoo, don't talk nonsense. He's just an illegitimate child that the family refuses to acknowledge." Back then, his mother was the one who showed up at our doorstep while heavily pregnant. At least the kid knew his place. He moved out on his own way back in middle school. I have no clue why he suddenly showed up today. I knitted my brows, completely ignoring their malicious gossip, and walked straight into the grand living room, where I was met with, "Follow me to greet your brother first. By the way, did you manage to get that marriage certificate signed?" "I got it." "Good. At least you're not entirely useless. Just make sure you remember your place in this family. Shin Xin is your older brother's fiancée. She comes from an elite, top-tier, wealthy dynasty, which isn't something an unrefined bastard like you could ever dream of. Only your brother is worthy of standing by her side." I just stood there silently, feeling a sudden wave of hunger. The truth was, Shun Xin had aggressively pursued me for 4 whole years back in college. Yet on the very day of graduation, she suddenly got together with my brother, Lin Fan. Directly after that, I was ordered to immediately find someone to marry, just to completely destroy any lingering chance of Shun Xin breaking things off to be with me. Ever since we were kids, whenever my interests collided with Lin Fan's, I was always the one forced to yield unconditionally. I glared at him coldly and replied, "Fine. This is officially the absolute last time." "I see. So that's how it is. Let's step inside, shall we? Why are you even here?" "Lin Fan is getting married today. Who could his bride possibly be on such short notice? Could she even begin to compare to Sister Shun Xin? As if that's even remotely possible. In the entire city of Haicheng, you couldn't find anyone with a higher status than Miss Shun. What kind of woman could a nobody like him actually pull? He's nothing more than a trashy street thug. He didn't even dare bring his new bride along today. Probably terrified her broke, pathetic appearance would blind us. Still, how could Lin Yu be so undeniably handsome? Otherwise, Sister Shen Xin wouldn't have obsessively chased him for 4 whole years. What good is being handsome when you're dirt poor? With his pathetic background, he can only pick up some random nobody off the streets. As for Miss Shun, she probably just viewed him as a temporary toy to play around with. Only Lin Fan's status as the true heir makes him worthy of Miss Shun. Yet, the breathtaking elegance and regal aura of the woman in that photo didn't match the description of a low-class street thug at all. Still, I couldn't even be bothered to waste my breath arguing with him. Lin Fan strapped on his luxurious watch and went to slip on his leather shoes, only to realize his tailored shirt was far too tight for him to bend over comfortably. He smirked arrogance and sneered, "You useless piece of trash. Why are you still standing there like a blind idiot? Can't you see your brother is having a hard time? Get down on your knees and put his shoes on for him. If you want his shoes put on so badly, do it yourself. What the hell is with that attitude? Do you think just because you got married, your wings grew strong enough to fly? Don't you expect the Lin family to support you in the future? If you destroy your relationship with your brother right now, mark my words, one day you and your little wife will be begging for scraps at his feet." Besides, the Lin family raised you from the dirt. You ought to work like a dog and serve the Lin family for the rest of your life. An extremely distinguished guest is about to arrive. What on earth are you all screaming and arguing about? It's all because this ungrateful brat got his marriage certificate today. He doesn't even show me an ounce of respect as his mother anymore. Faced with the cold, distant gaze of this father who felt like a total stranger, I froze for a brief second before pulling that printed marriage record straight out of my bag. In the very next second, it was violently snatched away by Lu Li. Hand that over. Let me see what kind of trash you found. Dad, what's the name of this hoodlum wife he brought home? Who on earth is coming? What you so damn worked up? Lin Jinan recalled something, his heart suddenly fluttering with intense excitement, before breathlessly blurting out a legendary name. Shun Yuchu. The moment I heard that name, I was completely stunned. You probably don't know who she is. She keeps an extremely low profile and is shrouded in mystery. I've never even laid eyes on her in person before. She's actually Shun Xian's aunt, barely 28 years old. Yet she has already taken full control as the undisputed ruler of the entire Shun family dynasty. Wait, wouldn't it make her vastly superior in power compared to Shun Xian? Are you kidding? How could a mere granddaughter in charge ever hope to compare? Though Miss Shun is apparently already married. If the person named on that marriage certificate really is her, then it seems Shun Yuchu herself must know the full truth behind this mess. Who on earth is her lucky husband? He's even more blessed with good fortune than our Lin fan. No idea. Rumor has it that neither she nor her mysterious husband enjoys public events. So why on earth would she personally grace our doorstep today? It must be because our Lin fan is just too exceptional. He managed to catch the personal attention of the highest head of the Shun family. The moment he finished speaking, he carelessly shoved the unread printout right back into my hands. Right at that moment, the butler rushed upstairs to announce that the Shun family's entourage was arriving shortly. Hearing this, Lin Jinan scrambled frantically downstairs, while I decided to stay behind, eager to see who this Shun Yuchu truly was. Inside the room, Lu Li stared smugly at her son, who was about to marry into ultimate wealth, her eyes practically gleaming with uncontrollable, malicious triumph. Over 20 long years ago, if it hadn't been for the sudden appearance of the main wife, Li Xia, the one who got to marry Lin Jinan would have been Lu Li. She harbored a deep, burning hatred for Li Xia, and in order to exact her twisted revenge, on the exact day they both gave birth in the same hospital, she secretly swapped the two newborn infants in the nursery. Now, her biological son, Lin Fan, had usurped the throne as the young master of the Lin family, while I, the rightful heir by blood, was reduced to a despised, rejected, illegitimate child. I slowly stepped downstairs, leaning casually against the shadows near the staircase, fixing my gaze dead on the main entrance, quietly awaiting the grand arrival of the Shun family. I couldn't tell how much time had passed before Mrs. Lin, Li Xia, stepped down the stairs supported by a maid, draped in an elegant purple cheongsam. She appeared remarkably frail and thin, exuding an aura of refined, scholarly grace. Mrs. Li, your health is still so fragile. You really shouldn't have forced yourself downstairs for such a monumental day in Lin Fan's life. There's no way I could miss it. I stared quietly at her frail back, my eyes brimming with mixed emotions. It was almost ironic. In this cold-hearted Lin family, she was my sole source of warmth. When I was a child, Lu Li would constantly starve me as punishment. Once Mrs. Lin accidentally caught wind of it, she began making sure, every single day, that secret portions of food were left in the garden for me. She did that faithfully for 12 whole years. If it weren't for Mrs. Lin's quiet compassion, I would have given up on myself and hit rock bottom ages ago. Suddenly, a major commotion erupted at the front door. The esteemed entourage of Shun family had finally arrived. Lin Jinan and Mrs. Lin immediately rushed to the entrance to greet them, stepping aside respectfully after exchanging a few polite pleasantries, as an imposing group marched grandly into the main hall. My eyes instantly locked on Shun Yuchu. Her breathtaking face was infinitely more stunning than in that photograph, radiating a razor-sharp, icy sophistication. Noticing my bold, unblinking gaze, she suddenly shifted her eyes straight toward me. That single glance sent an electric jolt straight through my heart, leaving me desperately trying to decipher the hidden emotion in her gaze. Yet Shun Yuchu casually pulled her eyes away, looking elsewhere, which left me utterly bewildered and scratching my head. With an expression like that, does she actually recognize me, or is she playing totally dumb? Lin Jinan beamed with fake smiles, buttering up Miss Shun with grand compliments. By the way, where is your distinguished husband? Did he not accompany you here today? The moment those words left his mouth, I felt Shun Yuchu's subtle gaze dart toward me yet again. It was inconvenient for him to attend, she replied coldly, prompting the enthusiastic crowd to usher her straight toward the grand reception room. Meanwhile, Shun Xin, the girl who obsessively pursued me for 4 entire years, followed close behind. Draped in a stunning evening gown, she looked far more mature and radiant than back in our college days. She didn't notice my presence at all, merely engaging in superficial, absent-minded small talk with Lin Fan. What the hell are you still loitering around here for? Have you still not given up on Shin Xin yet? Let me break it to you. She's officially your sister-in-law now. Relax, I have zero interest in playing the homewrecker. Besides, it was Mr. Lin himself who invited me to stay for a toast. And you actually took his polite courtesy seriously? You really lack the slightest bit of self-awareness, don't you? On a grand occasion like today, even someone like me wouldn't dare humiliate the family. So why would a dirty, illegitimate child like you deserve a seat at the main table? Get your pathetic self out of here right now. Just as I was about to bite back, I spotted Shun Yuchu stepping out toward the balcony to take a phone call. I perfunctorily brushed him off and immediately followed her outside. The moment I drew near, Shin Yuchu hung up her call, fixing me with an icy, razor-sharp glare that made me freeze right in my tracks, faced with her dangerously sharp gaze. A subtle smirk tugged at the corner of my lips as I hesitantly called out, "Wife?" Shin Yuchu's eyes turned instantly frigid. I stared directly at her face, carefully tracking her every reaction, only to see that upon hearing that title, her glare grew even colder and more piercing. Not a single hint of warmth or emotion showed on her face. As she casually turned around, preparing to walk away, I moved with lightning speed, instantly blocking her path. "Don't you recognize who I am?" Shin Yuchu looked down on me with utter disdain, stepping aside. "Get out of my way. Is there any reason why I should know you? Listen here, mister. I am a married woman, so kindly conduct yourself with some self-respect." Her harsh response left me completely stunned. This woman clearly doesn't know me, yet she explicitly claims she's already married. Could it be that the Civil Affairs Bureau made a massive mistake with the registry data? May I ask, who exactly is your husband? None of your business. For icy words shut me down again. Without another word, I pulled out the printed marriage record and thrust it straight toward her. "Mr. Lin, printing a fake paper doesn't cost much, does it? If you're going to forge official documents, at least put some professional effort into it." The moment those words left her lips, she didn't even bother heading back to the main hall, instead striding directly through the side garden toward the parking lot. I scrambled to catch up and clear up this insane misunderstanding, only to be roughly blocked by 2 hulking bodyguards. I shouted desperately at her retreating figure, "Miss Shun, this certificate is 100% genuine. If you don't believe me, you can go straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau and verify it yourself." Ignoring me completely, Shin Yuchu stepped into her luxury car and sped away, leaving her personal assistant standing behind. I turned back and re-entered the living room, slamming head-on into Lin Fan, who just so happened to witness me pestering Shin Yuchu outside. A dark, malicious gleam flashed across his eyes. Lin Jinan rushed over, trembling with anxiety. Why did Miss Shun suddenly leave? Did our family fail to show proper hospitality? I saw Lin Yu harassing and pestering Miss Shun outside. Miss Shun stormed off in absolute fury, and she even left behind a warning, telling you to properly discipline your dysfunctional family. If Lin Yu pulled a stunt like that, Won't the powerful Shun family think our household lacks all basic manners? Linyu, you follow me into the study right this instant. Riding away on my battered electric scooter, I felt utterly lost and conflicted, while Shin Yuchu sat in her luxury car, brooding in quiet irritation. Suddenly, her phone began ringing loudly. The moment she answered, a woman's voice chimed in from the other end. It was a detailed report regarding the enigmatic background of Shun Yuchu. It turns out Shin Yuchu was the fourth daughter of the main Shun family lineage, infamous in rumors for being ruthless, calculating, and ice-cold. Because of her dangerous nature, she was shipped off abroad at a very young age, leading everyone to assume that the vast empire of the Shun family would eventually be handed to Shun Xian's father. Yet to everyone's utter shock, just last week, Shin Yuchu made an unexpected, explosive return to the country. Using unknown, brutally aggressive corporate tactics, she forced the old patriarch into immediate retirement and seized absolute control over the massive Shin group. Find me her private contact details and full itinerary. I'm going to track her down in person later. This whole situation was becoming ridiculously complicated, given Shin Yuchu's terrifying status. Scoring an audience with her wasn't going to be easy at all. I really shouldn't have blurted out wife like a total idiot earlier. It completely set her off and pissed her right off. Just as I rounded the corner back to my neighborhood, a figure suddenly darted out right into the middle of the street. An elderly woman who looked to be in her 80s or 90s. I slammed on the brakes with all my force, nearly hitting her, instantly assuming it was some kind of insurance scam. However, I quickly realized the old lady was dressed in lavish, high-end clothes, yet clearly suffering from severe Alzheimer's disease. Grandson-in-law. You're my beloved grandson-in-law, aren't you? I've been single for 22 whole years. So how on earth did I manage to gain yet another wild wife today? Grandma, who exactly is your granddaughter? What's her name? Oh, right. Her name. Her name is Shun. Shun. Wait, Shun what again? Take it easy, Grandma. It's totally okay if you can't recall it right now. It's totally fine even if you can't remember. It's entirely my fault for being so careless and letting the old lady wander off and get lost. She stays in a confused, dazed state most of the time, so when she finally had a brief moment of lucidity. Listen up, the elderly lady from your family is currently in my hands. Just state your price. How much ransom are you asking for? Chill out. I'm just kidding with you. I called to remind you to take proper care of your elderly relatives in the future. Barely 5 minutes later, they arrived at the exact spot where the old lady was waiting, though I had long since slipped away into the crowd, leaving only a police officer waiting beside the elderly woman. Shin Yuchu softly asked her grandmother, "Grandma, how on earth did you wander all the way out here?" The old lady whispered mysteriously, "I came out here to track down my dear grandson-in-law. He lives right around this neighborhood." Grandma, you don't even have a grandson-in-law. Nonsense. I saw him with my very own eyes. Though that heartless little brat dumped me right on the police officer and took off. By the way, hand over your phone real quick. Shin Yuchu obediently handed her phone over, and the old lady immediately pulled up her contact list, carefully typing in the caller's number that she'd jotted down in her little notebook. She practically beamed with pure delight, exclaiming, I finally got my hands on my grandson-in-law's direct contact info. Early the following morning, I received an urgent call from my university advisor, Professor Wen. The moment I stepped into his office, I was stunned to find Lin Fan and Luli already sitting there. I actually attended the exact same institution, Haicheng University, as Lin Fan, where he constantly bragged about being the ultimate star student. And in order to avoid stealing his spotlight or outshining him, I deliberately chose the most obscure and unpopular major, energy power engineering. I was met with Professor Wen's dead serious face as he announced, Lin Yu, your qualification for the postgraduate recommendation has been officially revoked. Your mother claims you possess a deeply flawed moral character, which fails to meet the strict ethical standards required for graduate school endorsement. Did some kind of massive misunderstanding break out between you and your mother? Go ahead and apologize to her immediately. A brilliant future is well within your grasp. So don't throw your entire life away over a fleeting moment of petty anger. Professor 1, as his mother, everything I do is strictly for Lin Yu's own good. You have no idea. He went and utterly offended Miss Shun. Miss Shun personally declared that she would completely erase you from Haicheng. It took me a solid moment to fully process what she meant. The Miss Shun she was terrified of was clearly Shun Yuchu, but I barely exchanged 2 simple sentences with her. Besides, right before she drove away yesterday, she didn't look remotely furious at all. Lin Fan was already an expert at spinning shameless lies. After a brief pause, he strolled right up to me with a smirk. Here's the plane ticket Dad personally bought for you. He's sending you overseas so you can lay low and avoid the fallout. Otherwise, even our Lin family won't be able to protect you. Aren't you all just terrified that my presence might drag the Lin family down? What? Are you worried you won't be able to survive abroad? Look, here's $50,000. Consider this a personal allowance out of my own pocket, just for you. Go ahead and use this for now. And if it's not enough, I'll send you more pocket money later. $50,000 in pocket money? Does the grand and prestigious Lin family really only have a measly 50 grand to offer? I couldn't help but find the whole situation utterly laughable. Right at that moment, Luli aggressively snatched the bank card right back. Lin Fan, what on earth are you doing? The Lin family is already being overly generous by buying him a plane ticket. That's more than enough. Pack your trash and get the hell out of the country immediately. I've already finalized all the paperwork for your official withdrawal from the university. And who gave you the right to make life decisions for me? Because I am your mother. Besides, with your pathetic academic performance, I doubt you'd even manage to graduate anyway. You're far better off dropping out early to join the workforce and make money. Lin Yu's mother. I think you've gravely misunderstood the situation. During Lin Yu's entire time at this university, Professor, there's absolutely no need for you to waste your breath defending him. Do you think I don't know what kind of useless trash he is? Isn't the only reason he's obsessed with graduate school because Lin Fan is attending? Why don't you take a leak and look at your own reflection? What kind of pathetic nobody are you? What right or qualifications do you have to even compare yourself to Lin Fan? If I recall correctly, you weren't given a direct recommendation for graduate studies, nor did you even sit for the entrance exams. The path I took was an exceptional fast track directly authorized by Dr. Yu himself. He successfully developed a revolutionary clean energy fuel formulation, secured a full national patent, and was officially granted the prestigious title of doctorate. Dr. Yu? How peculiar. Why was I completely unaware that he was taking on new students? Lin Fan's desperate attempt at boasting was becoming truly fascinating. To repay Mrs. Lin for her years of gentle kindness, I had spent all these years operating under Dr. Yu's name, quietly providing key technical support to the Lin family's corporation, even inventing a complete cover story for my anonymous sponsor. Meanwhile, Lin Fan helplessly continued to spin his absurd lie. My mother used to financially sponsor Dr. Yu's education years ago. So after Dr. Yu achieved success, he tracked down our family, declaring that my mother was his life-saving benefactor. He's been providing our company with technical support all these years as a gesture of gratitude, so he would never refuse any request I make. Where is Dr. Yu currently employed? The dean himself intends to invite Dr. Yu to lecture at our university. Lin Yu, your research focus perfectly aligns with Dr. Yu's field, so I can personally introduce you to him. If Dr. Yu is willing to step in and speak on your behalf, there might still be a sliver of hope for your graduate recommendation. May I ask the professor if that's truly feasible? The Shun family is the undisputed wealthiest titan in Haicheng, and every single year, they pull massive amounts of R&D funding from our university. Dr. Yu is currently the hottest name in the industry. If Dr. Yu agrees to back him, the university administration will definitely side with Dr. Yu. However, Dr. Yu only shows respect out of consideration for my mother. If it were for my sake, He would gladly go out of his way to help. But Lin Yu is merely my father's illegitimate bastard, living in direct opposition to my mother. So why on earth would I ever ask Dr. Yu to help you out? I let out a cold sneer, flatly rejecting his offer. At this point, Lin Fan was acting like nothing more than a pathetic clown. Professor Wen, I sincerely appreciate your concern. But as you know, I never intended to pursue graduate studies anyway, so please don't waste your precious time on me. You offended Miss Shun, and you still think you can find a decent job in Haicheng. Keep dreaming. I refuse to believe anyone in Haicheng possesses the power to block out the sky with one hand. If you really can't find a job, come work as my teaching assistant. Professor. It was just a tiny, trivial misunderstanding between Miss Shun and me. Once I clear it up, everything will be fine, so please don't worry. Seeing this, Lin Fan clenched his fists in mounting frustration. Are you still trying to act tough? Are you seriously planning to pester Miss Shin all over again? She's already a married woman, so this shameless behavior is completely out of line. Luli flew into a genuine, explosive rage and slapped me violently right across the face. It seems every single word I told you that day went completely in one ear and out the other. It's been years since I last put you in your place, and it looks like you've completely forgotten the strict rules of this household. Apologize to your brother this instant, and swear that you will never lay eyes on anyone from the Shun family ever again, since trying to reason with you is utterly useless. Then don't blame me for showing no mercy. Lin Fan stood by watching the entire scene unfold, a dark surge of smug superiority swelling within his chest. As a child, I had groveled submissively before him, enduring every insult and beating without ever daring to fight back. Even when I moved out and ran into him again in college, I was still just a broke, pitiful loser. Yet I somehow dared to walk tall and hold my head high in front of him. Clearly, a few years without a beating made me forget who was superior. He wanted Luli to teach me an unforgettable lesson today. Just as Lin Fan was relishing this wicked thought, I began stepping slowly toward him. A smirk curled at the corner of his lips, assuming I was coming over to beg for his forgiveness, when suddenly I snapped my head up and slammed a brutal, violent punch directly into his face. The impact sent his world spinning in utter dizziness, knocking his consciousness completely out cold. Luli shrieked in absolute hysteria, rushing forward like a wild animal. How dare you lay a finger on him? I slowly turned my head toward her, exuding a terrifying, suffocating aura of pure murderous intent. Luli recoiled, utterly terrified by the deadly look in my eyes. What are you trying to do? You ungrateful monster. I am your mother. Are you actually insane enough to raise your hand against me? My voice was ice cold, each word dripping with venom, since you love playing the mother card so much. Then don't blame me for lacking filial piety. Stop meddling in my life and dictating what I do once and for all. Because if you ever try to lay another hand on me again, I will repay every single drop of it back on a Lin Fan tenfold. Pulling my frigid gaze away, I bowed deeply and respectfully to Professor Wen. Thank you for looking after me over these past 4 years. I will come back to pay you a visit once I settle everything. After dropping those final words, I turned on my heel and walked away without a single moment of hesitation. Only after my figure completely disappeared from the room did Luli finally snap back to her senses. The moment I stepped out of the university gates, my contact called to report that the boss had uncovered the full truth. I finally understand why she claimed to be married and pretended not to know you at all. On the surface, the Shun family is a colossal corporate empire. But behind closed doors, intense power struggles have been raging in recent years. The old patriarch was heavily biased toward the eldest branch, desperately trying to hand full control of the Shun family to them, while ruthlessly suppressing Shun Yuchu like a mere pawn. A few years ago, the old patriarch even tried to force Shin Yuchu into marrying a few completely unreliable, shady men, planning to force her into a political marriage, which triggered a massive, chaotic spectacle. It didn't stop until Shin Yuchu announced, "I've already registered a marriage with a normal guy from an ordinary family." Only then did the entire circus finally come to an end. And what's hilarious is that this alleged husband has never once shown his face in public, nor has he ever attended a single official Shun family banquet. So when you pieced everything together, there is only one ultimate truth, which means I finally get the whole picture now. Did you manage to locate her full itinerary and private contact details? All set. I'm sending over her detailed schedule for the next few days right now. However, her personal direct phone number remains completely untraceable. That's fine. I'll just go corner her in person. Given Shin Yochu's high-profile corporate status, her private phone details are guarded with top-tier security, so it's totally expected that you couldn't pull her personal cell. Besides, she's constantly surrounded by elite bodyguards, making her practically impossible to approach directly. Are you really prepared to resort to extreme tactics? Just make sure you keep a low profile for now. Standing directly in front of the Shun Group headquarters entrance, I carefully straightened out the courier uniform I was wearing. Clutching a small package in my hands, I stepped inside with confidence. Excuse me, I have an urgent express delivery from Miss Shun. It requires her to personally sign for it. After the receptionist made a quick verification call to the executive secretary's office, I was officially granted clearance to head upstairs. Stepping into the executive elevator, I rode it straight up to the 88th top floor. The moment the doors slid open, an insanely grand, expansive panoramic view unfolded before my eyes. The entire executive secretarial department occupied the whole floor, where hundreds of top-tier professionals were hard at work, all dedicated solely to serving a single person, Shun Yuchu. Following closely behind the secretary who came out to escort me, I successfully made my way to the CEO's office door. Just as I raised my hand to knock, a sharp figure suddenly lunged forward, blocking my path. Hold it right there, Linyu. You've got some nerve showing up here. Just because President Shun spared you last time, you think you can push your luck and act completely reckless today, disguising yourself as a delivery guy just to pester her again? How on earth did you security idiots screen this intruder? If you don't even check IDs properly, is any random stray dog allowed to just wander up onto the penthouse floor now? Kick this pathetic loser out of the building immediately. What do you mean it's complicated? Is the almighty Shun Group seriously looking down on humble delivery workers? You sure have a clever, sarcastic mouth on you. We respect every legitimate profession. But are you actually a real courier? Do you even possess an official delivery worker ID permit? 8 whole years ago, I truly was just a struggling courier. Can a college student work part-time to pay for school? Miss Shun, would you mind cooperating with my delivery job now? Send him in. I shot Lu Chong a smug, provocative glance, watching as he was practically ready to explode in pure fury, before casually stepping right past him and heading through the door. Shin Yochu's massive office oozed understated, minimalist luxury, creating a completely sterile environment devoid of any warmth or emotion. Finishing her signature on the document right in front of her, Shin Yuchu slowly raised her head, her striking, crystal-clear eyes devoid of even a single trace of feeling. I tapped gently on the delivery slip. Miss Shun, sign right here, please. For a brief moment, her sharp gaze lingered straight on me, before she picked up the pen and casually scribbled her name. Taking a deep breath, I threw out my sudden, mind-blowing revelation. Miss Shun, in reality, you aren't actually married to anyone at all, are you? The tip of her pen instantly snapped against the paper. Looking back up, her icy, dangerously sharp glare locked dead onto me. Seeing her reaction, I knew instantly that my deduction was 100% correct. When we originally registered our official marriage at the Civil Affairs Bureau, the required personal identity data was entered directly by hand, meaning the system records couldn't possibly be wrong. Shun Yuchu publicly declared to the whole world that she was a married woman, yet she didn't recognize my face or know who I was at all. After my contact finished digging up her full background, there was only one single possibility left: Shun Yuchu, desperate to shut down her ruthless family's relentless pressure to marry, fabricated a completely fake ghost husband. She had never actually set foot inside the Civil Affairs Bureau herself, which is why she had zero idea that we were legitimately, legally married. Miss Shun, I know what I'm about to say sounds completely insane, but you and I are legitimately husband and wife. Mr. Lin, stop wasting your breath and making a fool of yourself. Even if I were truly single, I would never marry a pathetic loser like you just to spite Shen Xin. She clearly only knew about my toxic past history with Shen Xin, assuming I was cornering her purely to use her for personal revenge. That was precisely why she refused to believe a single word coming out of my mouth. I hurriedly tried to clarify the misunderstanding. I didn't track you down because of Shun Xin. I came here today because I want to get a divorce. I haven't the slightest interest in your pathetic personal drama. Shin Yuchu coldly cut me off mid-sentence, swiping her pen across the slip and shoving the signed paper straight into my chest. And don't you dare bother me ever again. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting ruthless. Hearing those words, a surge of irritation flickered within me as well. Haven't you already been completely ruthless toward me? Word on the street is that you promised to make me vanish from Haicheng entirely. Shin Yuchu, you cold-hearted beauty, before I could even finish my sentence. Her phone suddenly rang out loud, playing the customized ringtone set specifically for her grandmother. She answered it without a second's delay, and the panicked voice of a nurse echoed from the other end. Miss Shun, the old lady has slipped away and disappeared again. Shin Yuchu rushed out of the office in an absolute panic. I was about to chase after her to clear up the whole misunderstanding, when Mr. Lin was abruptly blocked once again by Lu Chong. I strongly advise you to quit while you're ahead, kid. And just like that, I was forcefully escorted out of the Shun Group headquarters. The moment I arrived back at my apartment building, I suddenly turned around, sensing a presence behind me, only to spot the exact same elderly lady I had met before. She was tiptoeing and sneaking behind me like a comical little ninja. I stood there, feeling utterly helpless. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, the feisty little old lady suddenly grabbed my wrist in a vice grip. Grandson-in-law, don't you even dream of abandoning me again. Inside my tiny rented apartment, the old lady sat at the dining table, chugging down 3 entire glasses of water in one breath. I knit my brows, exasperated. Grandma, I am seriously not your grandson-in-law. However, this stubborn little old lady refused to listen, clutching the water glass and gulping down yet another serving. Realizing it was impossible to reason with her, I pulled out my phone and dialed the number from earlier directly. It rang once and was answered almost instantly. Hello. I had a faint, strange feeling that the woman's voice sounded surprisingly familiar. Just as I was about to speak, the phone was snatched right out of my hand by the old lady. At that exact moment, Shin Yuchu was frantically leading a team of searchers around the neighborhood. She's 87 years old, and all her bodily organs are slowly deteriorating. She could be in life-threatening danger at any second. Stinky girl, don't you dare come try to drag me back. I'm staying right here with my beloved grandson-in-law. Given Grandma's delicate condition, can we even force her to come back? The old lady cannot handle any emotional distress right now. It's best if we just cater to her wishes for the time being. Besides, that young guy from last time didn't seem like a bad person anyway. Grandma, I still need to bring you your daily medicine at least. No medicine. I already have all my meds right here. So don't you worry your little head off. Just sit tight and wait for me to kidnap my grandson-in-law back home. Haha, mission accomplished. Humming a tune softly, the mischievous old lady was casually humming a melody without a care in the world. What kind of completely irresponsible family is this? How could they just leave a vulnerable elderly person entirely in the hands of a total stranger? Just as I was about to dial the number again, my phone chimed with a green messaging app notification. Someone had just sent a friend request using my phone number. The attached note simply read, the old lady's granddaughter. I immediately accepted the incoming friend request. A message from the granddaughter popped up right away. Please take good care of my grandmother for a short while. Her health has been severely deteriorating lately, and she absolutely cannot handle any emotional shock or stress. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. I typed out a blunt, unfeeling reply on my phone. I'm not running a charity house over here. Before I could even finish typing the sentence, I suddenly heard frantic rustling coming from the kitchen. Grandma, what on earth are you doing? You can't just gobble down hard-boiled eggs when you're starving. You'll easily choke yourself. My dear grandson-in-law, I'm boiling an egg to roll over your face. You didn't even notice your cheek, but this will bring the swelling right down. After getting slapped in the face by that woman earlier, I had felt completely numb and surrounded by a chilling emptiness. Yet this sweet old lady, whom I had known for less than 48 hours, showed me far more genuine warmth than the woman who dared call herself my mother. Once it's cooked, Grandma will roll it gently over your bruise, and the pain will vanish before you know it. Why on earth did my heart suddenly soften like this? $300,000 as a weekly allowance for her living expenses. Well, 300 grand a week actually sounds pretty reasonable. It's definitely not that I'm suddenly being a busybody. It's just that the other party offered way too much money to refuse. Meanwhile, over at the Lin family household, Lin, you must be utterly green with envy because he wants to marry Miss Shun Xin. Just wait until your father gets back. I'll have him beat that brat black and blue. Lin Yu isn't that kind of spiteful person at all. You must have done something out of line to push him over the edge first. Your health is still fragile, so please don't strain yourself standing up. By the way, could you possibly persuade Dr. Yu to join Haicheng University as a distinguished graduate mentor? Lin Fan, a person should never bite the hand that feeds them or repay kindness with malice. Besides, Dr. Yu has dedicated so many years of service to our family, and he has already done more than enough for our company. We don't owe him anything, nor can we keep making demands. Haicheng University is the top academic institution in the entire city, so maybe Dr. Yu would actually jump at the chance to teach there. Let's just help connect him with the university leadership first. It can be considered a fitting reward for all his invaluable help over the years. In that case, I'll go ahead and ask him. Dr. Yu has aided our family so tremendously that any past favor we owed him has long been repaid. Why don't we host a grand banquet at home? Wouldn't it be much better if you extended the invitation to him face-to-face? Dr. Yu had always answered Mrs. Lin's every single request without fail. The moment he sets foot in our house, I'll formally ask to become his graduate student, and there is absolutely no way he will turn me down. I'm not sure if you're currently busy. Does Xiaoyu have any free time to come over and sit down with us at home? The moment I read that text message, my heart immediately leaped into my throat. Why was Mrs. Lin suddenly asking to see me out of the blue? Could it be that her health has taken a turn for the worse? Recalling Mrs. Lin's persistent, painful coughing, a surge of overwhelming anxiety gripped my mind. I bolted to my feet and rushed toward the door, typing back. I have time right now. I'll head over immediately. Just as I was frantically preparing to dash out, Mrs. Lin sent another green messaging notification. Oh, not right now. Are you working overtime this coming Saturday? I would love to invite you over for a nice home-cooked meal. Only then did I snap back to reality, realizing my deep concern had clouded my judgment. Flashing back to the tragic scene of being kicked out of the Lin family 10 long years ago, a bitter, self-deprecating smile curled at the corners of my lips. So many years have flown by. I suppose it really is high time we finally met. So I typed out my reply. I should be the one hosting you instead. Let's meet this Saturday evening at 6 o'clock. Right after sending that, I dropped the location pin of a fine dining restaurant. The moment I exited the chat window with Mrs. Lin, I noticed that Xin Yuchu had also sent a flurry of unread messages. They were all detailed instructions and advice on how to properly care for her grandmother. So I recorded a short clip to give her an update. I recorded a quick video of the old lady and sent it directly to Shun Yuchu. Parked discreetly on the side of the street, not far away, two fully equipped, high-end luxury vans were idling low-key. Inside, Shun Yuchu was seated on the leather sofa, working diligently on her laptop. Suddenly, a sharp WeChat notification chimed on her phone. Shin Yuchu picked it up to take a quick glance, and for the very first time, her usual cold, Ice Queen expression cracked, showing a subtle hint of genuine surprise. The family doctor sitting nearby immediately asked with concern, "Did something happen to the old lady?" Shin Yuchu pursed her lips and silently handed the phone over so he could watch the video. It's only 9 o'clock in the evening, yet the old lady, who usually struggles to fall asleep before 1 in the morning, is already fast asleep. Thank goodness. That young boy. The old lady truly treats him like someone special. If he can just stay by the old lady's side, her failing health will undoubtedly take a turn for the better. That's undeniably true. The very next morning, I received a text from Shun Yuchu, asking if she could come visit her grandmother tonight. Of course, you're always welcome to pop by any time. Then I dropped her my exact address pin. Suddenly, a sickeningly familiar voice called out from behind. I turned around only to face that insufferable prick, Shun Xin. You were always such a lone wolf back in college. And I chased after you like a damn fool for 4 whole years. Was that fun for you? I genuinely treated you as a real friend during those 4 years. It was just personal baggage anyway. Telling you would have only dumped another burden onto your shoulders. Explain yourself. Don't you have a single damn thing to explain to me? Before he could even finish his sentence, I turned around, fully intending to walk away. He clearly looked down on my humble background. So if that's the case, losing a friend like him is no loss at all. My cold, resolute dismissal made Shun Xin inexplicably furious, watching me put more and more distance between us. He lost his cool and grabbed my wrist without thinking. You're not leaving until we settle this. What else do you want from me? Are you seriously still pulling shifts at this dead-end place? Which means you still haven't managed to land a proper full-time job, right? Why don't you just come work as my personal assistant instead? No thanks. What the hell are you playing at? Is 50 grand a month enough to buy your dignity? I'm sure you'd excel at serving people. After all, your mother was a home-wrecking mistress. So serving others is practically in your blood. That line crossed the boundary completely. I lost my composure, grabbed him, and violently slammed him down onto the floor. I just stood over him, glaring down with icy, lethal contempt. Yet as he picked himself up, he actually let out a psychotic laugh instead of raging. I'll give you some time to mull it over. Whenever you change your mind, come crawling back to me anytime. Shun Xin smirked and strutted away right after tossing out those words. I let out a bitter, self-deprecating chuckle, turning around to leave, only to suddenly spot Shun Yuchu standing right at the entrance of the private room. Beside her, Lu Chong's gaze was deep and unreadable, his face devoid of any visible emotion. I was wondering why after graduating from college, you never managed to land a steady, decent job, and had to hustle through so many exhausting part-time gigs. Turns out Shun Xin has been ruthlessly cornering you at every step. My face was completely flushed with awkward frustration. Lu Chong let out a soft, heavy sigh. So that explains why you were desperately trying to pester the boss earlier. After all, in a city like Haicheng, practically no one dares to cross the almighty Shun family. He narrowed his eyes without offering a single word of defense. Boss, why don't we lend him a helping hand? He's so pitiful. Yes, exactly. Let's help this poor kid out. Come with me to the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize our divorce, you little hand. My startup company is still waiting to go public. But the moment that thought crossed my mind, my blood ran cold hearing Shun Yuchu's icy response. Why should I do anything just for someone who doesn't even matter to me? That would only make Shun Xin get his way. With that, she strode right past me and walked away. What poor kid are you talking about? When he looked me straight in the eyes, they were filled with an unsuppressible, cunning glint of sheer amusement. Where on earth do you see even a shred of pitifulness? I was left standing right there in stunned silence. We still have the old lady back at home, so we can't stay out here for too long. We'll just come back to find him tomorrow. Ringing the doorbell according to the address provided on the chat app. The old lady looked vibrant and in great health, so she began looking around the apartment. Although it was just a modest 60 square meter, 1-bedroom flat, it was exceptionally neat, tidy, and cozy. Just then, the distinct sound of running shower water echoed from the bathroom. Shun Yuchu jerked her gaze away, as if struck by an electric shock, as the family doctor tried to follow her inside the apartment. She abruptly stopped him. Hand me the medical kit. Go wait down the car. Shun Yuchu efficiently and swiftly checked the old lady's blood pressure, blood sugar levels, heart rate, and vital signs. Perhaps because the old lady slept so soundly last night, all of her health indicators were remarkably stable and healthy. The old lady puffed out her chest with proud satisfaction. My grandson-in-law takes such wonderful care of me. Seeing the proof with her own eyes, Shin Yuchu finally let her guarded heart settle. Aren't you going to stay for dinner? My grandson-in-law's cooking is absolutely divine. That wouldn't be very convenient. I'll leave this specialized medical kit right here, so you can take your daily readings yourself. Leaving it here is useless. My grandson-in-law won't know how to operate it. Besides, I don't want Dr. Fong coming over here either. I want you to come perform my checkups personally every single day. Just as Shun Yuchu was about to voice her objection, the sound of running water in the bathroom suddenly cut off. Panicked, she immediately grabbed her medical kit and bolted straight out the door. In that case, I'll take my leave first, and I'll come back to check on you tomorrow. The very second the door clicked shut, I finished getting dressed and stepped right out of the bathroom. Grandma, where did your granddaughter go? Sai, what's so embarrassing to say? She's just way too proud and loves putting on an arrogant front. My dear grandson-in-law, do you dislike her just because of her chilly attitude? Can't she just change her ways for you? I am seriously not your grandson-in-law. You really are. I sighed, feeling completely helpless. Over these past 2 days of living together, I found the old lady to be exceptionally kind and sweet, catering to my every whim, except when it came to her stubborn delusion about this marriage. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. Grandson-in-law, I want to head back home to grab a few changes of clothes. So I messaged her granddaughter to ask for her residential address. In a moment, I opened the location pin. I froze in absolute disbelief. Number 1 Manor Estate. Isn't this the infamous residence of the elite Shin family? It was literally the most prestigious billionaire neighborhood in all of Haicheng. I had assumed the old lady lived in one of those modest suburban villas, never daring to imagine she belonged to the ultra-wealthy Shun family. Upon arriving at our destination, I looked up at the breathtaking, antique-style architecture standing before me. A majestic black iron gate adorned with exquisite, regal engravings. Seeing me hesitate to head inside, Grandma chimed in. Is this your home, grandson-in-law? My memory is so foggy that I can't quite recall. Left with no choice, I quickly sent a message to the granddaughter. She replied almost instantly, Please wait right where you are. I'll be down shortly. Not long after, a high-end luxury vehicle pulled up and came to a slick stop right in front of us. Lin Fan and Lu Li stepped out from the back seat, rushing straight over to confront us. Lu Li glared at Lin Yu with a deeply knitted brow. I knew it. It really is you. What on earth are you doing lurking around here? Lin Fan looked back and forth between Lin Yu and the tightly sealed gates of the Shun estate. Are you seriously here to pester Miss Shin Yuchu again? Do you have any idea what an important day today is? Get your pathetic self out of here right now. If you dare ruin Lin Fan's betrothal ceremony today, I swear I'll make you pay dearly. I'm simply escorting this elderly lady back to her home. Get out of my way. Isn't this elderly woman your wife's grandmother? How could someone like her possibly live inside a billionaire community like this? Why on earth would it be impossible for her to live here? Does your ridiculous arrogance blind you to reality? What kind of delusion are you putting on? As if a shabby old lady like your wife's grandmother could ever reside here. Hey, old hag, why don't you tell us which luxury villa you supposedly live in? I heard that cold beauty, Shun Yuchu lives right. Just as I was about to say something, the little old lady suddenly stood up straight. Her memory suddenly sparked. I remember now. I live right over there. Come along, my dear grandson-in-law. Let's head on home. She grabbed my hand and led me straight toward the grand gates of the Shun estate, which were still about 100 meters away. But after taking merely 2 steps, a harsh, mocking laugh burst out from behind us. You've made up so many pathetic excuses, only to end up using an old lady as your human shield. My footsteps toward the Shun estate suddenly faltered. Could the old lady have misremembered her own home? Besides that polite, well-mannered granddaughter on the chat app, how could she possibly be the icy, arrogant Shin Yuchu? I won't let you go barging into the Shun family estate to cause trouble. I was caught off guard by the sudden shove, instinctively shielding the fragile old lady with one arm. I firmly grabbed Lu Li's wrist with my free hand and violently shoved him backward. What the hell do you think you're doing? Lu Li stumbled backward several paces from the impact. The moment he finally regained his footing, You ungrateful wretch. How dare you lay a hand on me for the sake of a senile old hag? Mom, call the police on him right now. I completely ignored his hysterical screaming, turned around in a panic, and checked on the little old lady. When has she ever been hurled such foul, venomous abuse in her entire life? Sure enough, her entire body was trembling violently with uncontainable rage, clutching her chest tightly with one hand. Her frail frame shuddered uncontrollably as she gasped for air. I rushed to support her falling body, fumbling frantically into her pocket for her emergency heart medication. However, the moment I popped open the bottle cap, my heart sank. It was completely empty. My pupils contracted in sheer terror. The old lady's health was far too frail and fragile. Unless it was an absolute last resort, manual CPR compressions could easily shatter her ribs. She needed her specialized medication immediately. I whipped my head around and glared sharply at the main gates. The Shun family estate must definitely have emergency medical supplies on hand. Even if the old lady isn't actually part of the Shun family, she is still at least a neighbor living in the same community. There is no way they would just stand by and watch her die. I scooped up the fragile old lady in my arms. But Lin Fan violently grabbed my arm with all his might. Lin Yu, cut this pathetic act out right now. The arrogant Shin family will never let a nobody like you step inside. He glared down at the suffering old lady, a sinister, malicious glint flashing within his dark eyes. I was completely driven to the brink of utter madness. My blood boiled as monstrous rage surged through my veins, and I hoisted my leg, kicking him viciously straight onto the ground. However, the very next second, my leg was desperately clamped in a death grip. Lu Li threw all dignity out the window, sprawling pathetically across the pavement. He clung onto my leg like a rabid dog, completely discarding his pride. I was practically trembling with pure, unadulterated fury, yet terribly anxious for the dying old lady cradled in my arms. I couldn't shake his stubborn grip off without hurting her. Right at that critical, chaotic moment, a sleek black Bentley glided over and smoothly came to a halt. Shin Yuchu stepped out of the vehicle and demanded coldly, "What on earth is going on here?" "Miss Shun, it's all because of this troublemaker Lin Yu. He insists on dragging a dying old woman along with him, trying to barge into the Shun family estate just to run an extortion scam. It's entirely my fault for failing to restrain him in time." Hearing those ridiculous lies, Shin Yuchu spotted her beloved grandmother resting in my arms, and immediately broke into a frantic dash directly toward us. Shin Yuchu was completely overtaken by utter panic. Without even waiting for me to offer an explanation, Grandma suffered a sudden heart attack, and the emergency medicine she had on her just ran out. As long as she takes her medication immediately, she'll be out of danger. Shin Yuchu's face paled as her cold facade shattered completely. Biting her lip, she gently took her grandmother into her arms and bolted back into the Shun estate without looking back for a single second. Yet I was left completely unable to follow them inside, because my leg was still firmly pinned down by Lu Li. Lin Fan was still utterly clueless regarding the old lady's true identity. Only then did Lu Li finally loosen his desperate grip and release me. Dusting off my pants, I let out a sharp, mocking sneer. "Isn't it obvious why I came? Did you really think I brought that old lady here just to cause trouble for the Shin family?" At that exact moment, the heavy main gates of the Shun estate swung open, and Shun Xin strutted out with an arrogant swagger. Lin Fan instantly plastered a groveling, flatterous smile across his face. "Sister Shun Xin, didn't I specifically tell you to wait for me in the VIP parking lot? Why did you wander all the way out to the front entrance?" Shin Xin forced out a rare, artificially sweet expression onto his face. "I was just worried you'd lose your way on your very first visit to our family estate." Then his gaze shifted over to lock onto me, and that fleeting tenderness vanished instantly, replaced by icy, sharp contempt. "Lin Yu, did you come all the way here because you finally came to your senses? If you've truly thought it through, a simple phone call would have sufficed. Who on earth allowed you to come to the Shun family estate? Does an illegitimate child like you really think you can step foot inside the gates of the Shun family?" "Sister, you've completely misunderstood. Lin Yu was actually just waiting for his wife's grandmother. The poor old lady suffered a sudden heart attack, so Miss Shun Yuchu personally carried her inside to save her life. What wife? Who the hell is this woman Lynn you supposedly married? I cast a deeply sarcastic glare straight back at him. Whoever my wife is has absolutely nothing to do with you. How could it be irrelevant? I'd love to see, without my explicit consent, exactly who in this city dares to marry a loser like you. Lin Fan eagerly jumped in a chime. I heard directly from Lin Yu's mother that she's just a low-class street girl. Shen Exine clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. You actually stooped this low to humiliate yourself? Fine then, an illegitimate bastard and a trashy street girl. You two really are a match made in heaven. Lin Fan continued, adding fuel to the fire with a smirk. Lin Yu just can't accept his bitter reality, can he? That's why he keeps shamelessly pestering Miss Shin Yu-Chu. I let out an icy, disdainful sneer. Lin Fan, take a good look at your own pathetic self. How come a boy next door seems to have far more brains than you? Have you seriously accomplished nothing else with your life? Hearing my sharp insult, Lin Fan's face darkened as he tightly balled his fists. I know you're desperately trying to get revenge on me and Sister Shen Xian, but Miss Shin Yu-Chu is already a married woman. You shouldn't be out here trying to wreck someone else's marriage. Shen Xian was practically exploding with rage upon hearing those words. He had been smugly waiting by his phone for my call these past 2 days, arrogantly assuming that if I gave in and begged on my knees for mercy, he might consider showing me a shred of leniency. Yet it turns out I had already moved on and found a new home. The mere thought of this sent his ego into an absolute tailspin. So that's how it is. Why else would your wife's grandmother magically show up right at my front door? It turns out you came here specifically to cling on to my aunt. How can a human being possibly be this shamelessly pathetic? Overcome with sheer fury, he jabbed his finger right at my face and barked orders to the guards. Did you take a good look at him? Memorize this pathetic face. Never let him set so much as a single toe inside the Shun estate again. Lin Fan bowed his head obediently, a triumphant, gloating smirk curling up the corners of his lips. After all, at the Shun estate gates, Shen Xian could still act as half the master of the house. However, the very next second, the head butler of the Shun family strode out through the heavy main doors. His sharp eyes swept authoritatively across the startled crowd. Before making a straight line directly toward me, Mr. Lin Yu, Miss Shen Yu-Chu respectfully requests your presence inside. Lin Fan was struck completely speechless. Shen Xin Fei Nabulut Uta shocked. I looked up and let out a smug, satisfied smirk, gazing at the security guard with a mocking smile. So, am I allowed to head inside now? The guard stole a quick, cautious glance at Shen Xian before unhesitatingly swinging the heavy gates wide open. After all, he knew crystal clear who truly held the ultimate power in the Shun family. The moment I stepped onto the estate grounds, Shen Xian and his entourage scrambled in right behind me. Miss Shen Yu-Chu invited you in, I presume, only so you could take your senile old grandmother back. Grab your trash and get the hell out the moment you have her. Don't you dare soil the pristine carpets of the Shun family. Exchanging those sharp words, the group filed into the grand main living room together, only to instantly catch sight of the scene ahead. Old Madam Shun sitting regally upon the primary sofa seat. The little old lady glared daggers straight at them. You wretched, wicked woman. Who the hell were you hurling curses at just now? Lu Li froze dead in his tracks, paralyzed with fear. Lin Fan's knees buckled so violently that he nearly collapsed face first onto the marble floor, only saved by Shen Xian grabbing him just in time. What the hell is wrong with you? Lin Fan's entire frame was trembling uncontrollably, a forced, bitter smile cracking across his pale face. Lin Yu, why on earth did you lie to us and hide that old Madam Shan? Was actually your wife's grandmother. Because of your deception, we failed to treat the venerable matriarch with proper respect. In a split second, I felt multiple sharp, suspicious gazes within the room lock directly onto me. Luli quickly caught on as well. You deliberately took advantage of the old lady's Alzheimer's disease. How dare you manipulate her like a puppet? What do you take the prestigious Shun family for? Get down on your knees and beg for forgiveness this instant. I brushed the dust off my clothes, sneering inwardly. attempting to dump every ounce of the blame onto my head. Lin Fan's desperate play to whitewash his own sins was truly a masterclass in hypocrisy. Suddenly, a tea ceramic smashed through the air, thrown forcefully by the old lady, striking Lu Li squarely in the chest. Scalding tea spilled all over his clothes. Yet Lu Li didn't even dare to let out a single whimpering cry. The old lady was practically fuming with rage. "You utter bastards. He is my genuine, beloved grandson-in-law." Enduring the agonizing pain of the fresh burns, Lu Li pleaded desperately to the old lady. "You've been completely brainwashed and scammed by him. I know for absolute fact that his actual wife is just a low-class street delinquent. There's no point in barking at each other. Why don't we just ask the person involved directly?" Off to the side, Shun Xian's mother chimed in with childish disbelief. "Is this worthless loser seriously your husband?" I looked over at Shun Yuchu in dead silence, and bracingly awaited the exact answer I expected. "No, he isn't." What an ungrateful, heartless woman. Raging fire ignited deep within my eyes. Lin Fan's face immediately lit up with sheer ecstasy, and he let out a massive sigh of relief. Lu Li smirked smugly and scoffed at me. "I knew it. You were pulling a cheap scam all along." I let out a cold, cynical sneer, and was just about to tear into them, when the woman's clear, icy voice echoed once more. Grandma confuses identity due to her condition. So I personally asked Mr. Lin Yu to help take care of her. For the past couple of days, the entire room instantly fell into a dead, suffocating silence. Absolutely no one anticipated the situation turning around like this. After a long pause, Lin Fan hung his head and mumbled, "So, that's how it really was." "Lin Yu, why on earth didn't you just tell us the truth from the start? If you had spoken up earlier, we wouldn't have had such a colossal misunderstanding." Shun Yuchu sat gracefully on the primary sofa, exuding an effortlessly relaxed posture. Yet her spoken words carried overwhelming, terrifying authority. "Mr. Lin Fan, hiding like a coward behind others to shirk your own responsibility. Is this really the pathetic excuse for manners the Lin family taught you?" Old Madame Shun was utterly incensed by her granddaughter's scathing words. Fuming with rage, "Do you rotten fools think my mind is completely gone? You think I can't see right through your vicious, petty little tricks? Not only do you refuse to repent for your shameful behavior, you even dare to scapegoat an innocent man to save your own skins. The two of you are utterly shameless to the core." Old Madame Shun glared sternly at Shun Xian, commanding, "Call off this engagement immediately. I will never acknowledge this disgraceful scoundrel as my grandson-in-law." Lin Fan's whole body went completely numb in an instant. The aristocratic marriage he had schemed so relentlessly to secure was about to crumble into dust right before his very eyes. Panicked, he turned his desperate eyes toward Shun Xian, only to find the woman looking deeply irritated and dark-faced, her sharp gaze fixated unceasingly on me. Clearly, she still hadn't processed the shocking revelation that I was actually married. Snapping back to his senses amidst his burning panic and rage, Lin Fan balled his fists so hard his nails bit into his palms. He lowered his head, slinking over to stand in front of Shun Xian, Sister Shun Xian. "This was entirely my fault. Please don't worry. Even if our engagement is officially called off, the miraculous doctor I promised to introduce to you will still fulfill his duty." Hearing those words, Shun Xian finally snapped back to reality, remembering that Lin Fan was still his only connection to the miracle doctor. Among all the cutting-edge new energy projects across Huaxia, that renowned miracle doctor stands as one of the absolute top figures. She hurriedly pleaded with old Madame Shun on her son's behalf. "Grandma, Lin Fan simply didn't recognize your identity, so it's no wonder he made a mistake. Please, just forgive him this once. Besides, our two families have already exchanged formal betrothal gifts, so calling off the marriage right now would look terrible." Old Madame Shun cast a deeply meaningful look at her. "Do as you wish. A great-granddaughter's personal affairs are ultimately for her parents to decide." She simply had no desire to meddle in their foolishness any longer. Yet Shun Xian's mother immediately feigned filial devotion to the old lady. "Grandma, didn't you forget to give them their formal meeting gift?" Hearing this, Old Madam Shun didn't even bother to lift her eyelids. I'll have someone wire 180,000 to Shun Qing later. Shun Qing's mother's face instantly turned deathly pale. But didn't you promise earlier to grant the young couple a hefty 2% equity stake, fearing they might be short on cash after tying the knot? After all, who was truly the wealthiest individual in the entire Shun family? That title undeniably belonged to old Madam Shun. Hailing from a top-tier, ultra-wealthy clan in Kyoto, she possessed a staggering, astronomical dowry and controlled a massive 20% stake in the Shun Corporation. Shun Xian's mother had long schemed to use this marriage to force the old lady into coughing up a huge fortune. Everything had originally been agreed upon, yet the old lady suddenly changed her mind on the spot. Old Madam Shun fixed her with a half-smile that carried zero warmth. I am thoroughly displeased with this great-grandson-in-law, so I refuse to give him a single dime. Lin Fan's face turned completely ghostly white. He felt utterly humiliated, surrounded by the mediocre onlookers of the Shun family. Once word of this inevitably leaked out, the entire city of Haicheng would know that he was utterly despised and rejected by the venerable matriarch. To high society, reputation and face were everything, and the old lady today had brutally crushed his pride and self-esteem beneath her heels. Yet why would the spunky old lady care about his pathetic pride? After dropping that ruthless line, she directly grabbed my hand and pulled both me and Shin Yuchu toward her private courtyard residence. She then quickly made up a flimsy excuse to slip away, instructing Shun Yuchu to entertain her grandson-in-law properly. With that, she swiftly ushered the servant away, and in the blink of an eye, only the two of us remained. Shin Yuchu and I standing alone under the quiet night sky. I stood shoulder to shoulder with Shun Yuchu, and just as I was hesitating on how to break the awkward silence, Shin Yuchu suddenly turned her gaze straight toward me, harboring a deep-seated disdain for this absolute lack of tact. Not to be outdone, he suddenly locked eyes with her, his gaze turning dead serious. Shin Yuchu's face turned completely ashen at the silly Erniu remark. To think he had actually coaxed Grandma into saying such ridiculous things. His motives were clearly impure. Perhaps Grandma latching onto him was merely an accident, and there was no concrete proof of any malicious calculation. But for this man to be supposedly kind enough to take Grandma in, it was highly suspicious and uncertain. It was likely because Grandma had accidentally revealed her true wealthy identity. I suppressed my irritation and didn't forget my main business. I remember your text message saying you would do me a favor. Can you accompany me to the Civil Affairs Bureau to formally verify your marital status? Shin Yuchu's gorgeous face instantly darkened as she stood up impatiently and prepared to walk away. Fine, let's go. Once it's proven false, I fully expect you to stop using my grandmother as an excuse to pester me. Suddenly, the little old lady's head popped out from the window. You wretched girl, are you bullying my dear grandson-in-law? Hearing this, Shin Yuchu's icy facade instantly crumbled. No, of course not. Dinner was a simple, quiet affair. 4 delicate dishes and 1 hearty soup. Just a perfect portion for the 3 of us to eat. It was just that the little old lady completely lacked an appetite. After merely taking 2 or 3 bites, she set down her chopsticks, grandson-in-law. I am exhausted. Let's just go home. Let's not bother staying here. Please, just rest here at the estate tonight. This private courtyard was essentially a high-end mini-retirement home, equipped with absolutely every kind of advanced medical equipment imaginable. The frail old lady grabbed my hand nervously. Then, can you please stay here with me? I frowned deeply and cast a hesitant glance at Shin Yuchu. To be completely honest, I wasn't at ease leaving the little old lady alone either. But this vicious, arrogant woman despised me to the core, constantly suspecting that I was merely using the old lady to get closer to her family. She would absolutely never agree to let me stay. However, Shin Yuchu fell dead silent for a brief moment. You can't. Then she shot me a deeply meaningful glare, making it blatantly obvious that she was only agreeing for Grandma's sake, and warning me not to get any delusional ideas. After dinner, I gently escorted the old lady back to her grand bedroom to rest. The old lady must have been completely drained from today's terrifying ordeal, combined with her sudden, severe illness. The moment she laid down on the mattress, she drifted off into an exhausted sleep. Yet, she slept extremely restlessly, tossing and turning, leaving me with no choice but to sit faithfully by her bedside and keep watch. Meanwhile, just outside the window, Shin Yuchu looked incredibly stern. Grandma, just what on earth is going on here? The personal family doctor, who had extensive training in psychology, could only let out a heavy, solemn sigh. I honestly have no idea why the matriarch is so stubbornly fixated on this young man. However, I can more or less decipher the underlying reason behind her deep distress and anxiety. She is terrified that this grandson-in-law will abandon her and walk away. Immediately following those words, the family doctor stole a subtle glance at Shun Yochu's conflicted face. The matriarch feels her time is running short, that she only has a few years left. She worries that once she passes away, you will be left entirely alone without a single anchor. In her mind, this young man is the only reliable person she can leave behind to protect you. Shin Yuchu was instantly stunned, frozen in place. Deep within those dark, mesmerizing eyes, a storm of irrepressible, chaotic emotions surged wildly. It took a considerable amount of time before her gaze finally settled back into cold tranquility. As she stood silhouetted beneath the pale moonlight, she seemed to seamlessly merge with the engulfing shadows behind her. No one knew just how much time had silently slipped by, until the stunning woman suddenly turned on her heel and began striding back toward the main mansion with purpose. Meanwhile, Lin Fan was enduring an agonizingly uncomfortable dinner, having just cost the family a lucrative 2% equity stake. Shun Xian's mother, Lu Meijin, was overflowing with bitter resentment, barking sharply at him with pure venom in every word. Isn't Lin Yu supposed to be just a useless, illegitimate bastard? How on earth did a nobody like him manage to charm the matriarch so easily, while an incompetent fool like you couldn't? Lin Fan could do nothing but hang his head in shame, stammering out a pathetic apology. Auntie, I simply don't possess Lin Yu's silver-tongued, deceitful ways. Lu Meijin let out a cold, ruthless sneer. I don't give a damn what devious tactics you have to use. You had better claw that 2% stake back for us. Otherwise, don't even dream about marrying into the Shun family. Lin Fan swallowed his bitter humiliation, suffering in total silence. The moment the tormenting meal finally came to an end, he eagerly prepared to offer his hurried farewells and escape. Yet, before he could even take a single step toward the exit, Shin Yuchu unexpectedly made her return. The second she crossed the threshold, an overwhelming, suffocating aura engulfed the room. Her cold gaze swept across the scattered leftover dishes on the dining table, her expression darkening instantly into a chilling mask of pure anger. Grandma couldn't stomach a single bite of food tonight. Yet here you all are, feasting like gluttonous fools. Lu Meijin shrank back instantly, not daring to utter a single word of protest. In the end, it was Shun Xian's father, Shun Yuanjia, who knit his brows tightly and questioned her. Since when do you care about the kitchen staff? What exactly did you come back here for? Shin Yuchu sneered mockingly. I came to inform you that the miraculous doctor's senior brother is currently right here, taking a look at our rebellious cousin. Look at this shameless rebel. Since they haven't gotten divorced, then technically, he is still considered a member of the Shun family, right? And since he belongs to the Shun family, he must strictly abide by our rules. For brazenly defying his elders today, he will kneel in the ancestral hall overnight as punishment. Shun Yuchu casually waved her hand toward the entrance, and two towering bodyguards immediately stepped forward, surrounding Lin Fan. Young Master Lin, if you would please follow us. Lin Fan cast a desperate, pleading look at Shun Xian. Yet the spineless man didn't even dare to voice a single word of resistance. This was the absolute, crushing authority of the true ruler of the house. Taking a deep, bitter breath, he had no choice but to submissively follow the bodyguards out. Just as he reached the doorway, he overheard Shun Xian asking his aunt with a frown, "What about Lin Yu? Has that trash left yet?" Only to be met with Shun Yochu's icy, authoritative warning. He is my personal guest. He will be staying overnight at the Shun estate. The bodyguards led a thoroughly humiliated Lin Fan all the way to the ancestral hall. Young Master Lin, since you have not officially married into the family yet, you are forbidden from stepping inside the sacred Shun family ancestral hall. You will kneel right here outside. The courtyard outside was paved with rock-hard, freezing brick tiles. Lin Fan opened his mouth, desperately wanting to protest, but the two bodyguards stood firmly with hands behind their backs, gazing down at him with ruthless, unyielding eyes. As the midnight air turned frigid, Lin Fan was left violently shivering and trembling in the biting cold. The sharp, bone-chilling frost from the stone ground seeped straight into his kneecaps. He desperately wanted to slack off and rest his weight. Yet those two imposing bodyguards stood guard like stern guardian gods, fixing their piercing glares upon him, utterly silent, yet radiating a spine-chilling pressure. The next morning, I slowly opened my eyes. I found myself lying comfortably on a plush bed, snugly tucked under a soft, light pink blanket. Looking over, the little old lady was fast asleep nearby. The bedroom was decorated in a remarkably plain, minimalist aesthetic, so I didn't pay it much mind. After getting up and freshening myself up, I sat down to have breakfast with the little old lady and Shun Yuchu. A freshly fried plate of deep-fried dough sticks sat in the center of the dining table. The little old lady immediately snatched one up with her chopsticks, prompting Shun Yuchu to quickly intervene. "Grandma, your blood sugar is way too high. You shouldn't be eating such greasy, high-carb food," just as she was trying to figure out how to stop her. My faint voice broke through the silence. "Grandma, that sweet pastry isn't meant for you." The gluttonous yet incredibly stubborn little old lady pouted as she deposited the sweet treat directly into my bowl instead. Then she flashed a sweet, syrupy smile at her favorite grandson-in-law. "I grabbed this specially for you." Shun Yuchu cast a sharp, critical glare right at me, utterly baffled as to why Grandma obeyed my every word so submissively. I unceremoniously scarfed down the sweet pastry without a second thought, before turning my eyes directly toward Shun Yuchu. "We'll be heading to the Civil Affairs Bureau later. Make sure you bring your ID card and household registry book." The little old lady tilted her head and asked curiously, "What on earth are you two doing at the Civil Affairs Bureau?" "Our marriage certificate got lost." I never anticipated that the moment those words left my mouth. The little old lady's eyes widened. "No, it didn't. It's not lost at all." She hurriedly scampered straight into the bedroom and quickly emerged, clutching two bright red marriage certificates in her hands, passing them directly to both me and Shun Yuchu. I stared down at the marriage certificate in my hands in absolute astonishment, a sudden wave of realization crashing over me. The very first time the little old lady laid eyes on me, she had instantly called me her grandson-in-law. She had known all along that the two of us were actually married. Feeling like I had finally grasped a crucial clue, I immediately pressed Grandma for answers. "Grandma, why on earth do you have these marriage certificates in your possession?" The little old lady was caught completely off guard by my intense question. Her eyes growing foggy and confused. I can't seem to remember." "Then how exactly did Miss Shun and I end up getting married?" The little old lady continued to shake her head helplessly. "I really don't remember." Growing a bit anxious, I pleaded, "Grandma, please just try to think back." Having kept her head down during breakfast, Shun Yuchu's face turned icy cold. She stood up abruptly, stepping right between me and the little old lady, glaring down at me with a frostbitten stare. "Mr. Lin, you really have outdone yourself this time. So this was your true plan all along, wasn't it? You claimed we didn't need to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau, using that offer as a clever front to set the stage, only to manipulate Grandma into producing these fake certificates, to make everyone believe your ridiculous story." I could distinctly catch a terrifying hint of murderous intent in the woman's chilling tone, leaving me feeling thoroughly bewildered and speechlessly perplexed. "We aren't going anywhere today. After all, a high-stakes divorce isn't as simple as just strolling into the Civil Affairs Bureau. For the past 2 years, we have been legally recognized as a married couple, which involves massive complex assets and property division. You'll need to review and sign a formal divorce agreement first." Shun Yuchu fixated her sharp, probing eyes on me after dropping that bombshell. Yeah, I was left completely stunned and dazed, replying with a helpless shrug, whatever you say. Is this woman's acting skill just insanely top tier, or are these marriage certificates actually genuine? Helplessly resigning myself, I told her to say whatever she wanted, wondering if her acting was top tier or if that marriage certificate was actually legit. Shin Yu-Chu was suddenly left feeling a bit uncertain and off balance. She simply snatched up the marriage certificates and stepped outside first. I'll be waiting for you in the parking lot. I flashed the little old lady a reassuring, soothing smile. The moment I stepped out into the parking lot, I caught sight of Lu Li supporting a deathly pale, weak-kneed Lin Fan. Seeing me walk out, he instantly charged right over with unearned arrogance and confidence. You have to help your brother out. Lin Yu, you might be a filthy, illegitimate bastard, but the prestigious Lin family never discriminated against your humble origins. They fed and raised you. Even if you ignore their kindness, show some respect for their hard work. You damn well owe it to the Lin family to repay them. Having endured this exact, brainwashing rhetoric for over 20 years, I found it nothing short of utterly laughable and pathetic now. Luli completely ignored my cold indifference. Now that you've grown up and made something of yourself, you finally have the golden opportunity to give back to the Lin family. Doesn't old Madam Shun hang onto your every single word? Go demand that she return that 2% equity stake back to your brother right now. Hearing those shameless demands, I burst out laughing. I'm merely a lowly, useless bastard in your eyes. So why on earth would old Madam Shun ever listen to a word I say? Luli was left completely stunned and speechless. Just as he opened his mouth, desperate to utter another word, I directly brushed past him with long, confident strides, heading straight toward Shin Yochu's luxury vehicle. The car soon pulled up at the Civil Affairs Bureau, and the moment it parked, Lu Chong sprinted over in a total, panic-stricken hurry, boss. The chauffeur told me you drove off all by yourself. I was so terrified that something happened that I tracked your live location and chased you down. Did something go wrong? Shin Yu-Chu kept her response characteristically brief and icy as gold. Why did you come here? Could it be that Lin Yu is actually being suspicious again? Don't worry, boss. I promise you he'll never dare bother you ever again. Or else I'll personally expose him and make him go viral on my live stream. Sitting casually in the back seat, I drawled out in a lazy tone, oh? And which live stream channel would that be? Lu Chong froze dead in his tracks, his entire body going completely rigid. And, just like that, the three of us filed into the official service hall together. Lu Chong was the first to rush to the counter and inquire. Excuse me, can someone obtain a marriage certificate without both parties being physically present? That is absolutely, legally impossible, the staff member stated firmly. Lu Chong turned toward me with a mocking, triumphant sneer. Did you hear that, loser? You actually went through the trouble of forging a fake certificate. I'm calling the police right this second, and suing you for forgery and relentless harassment. Shun Yu-Chu directly handed over the document. Please verify whether this marriage certificate is authentic. The staff member checked the system and replied, this certificate is completely genuine. How on earth is that even possible? Is your system information registered incorrectly? Lu Chong shrieked in disbelief. What absolute nonsensical garbage. Marriage registration is a serious legal matter. Both parties involved must be physically present and have their identities thoroughly verified. I quickly cut in. Could you please let us inspect our signed application form? The clerk nodded. Sure, please hold on a moment. The staff member got up helplessly. You and your husband really share an incredible tacit understanding. I'll go pull up the archive file for you right now. Shortly after, 2 official registration documents were handed directly to us. I glanced at the signature handwriting on the paper. It genuinely was my very own handwriting. Lu Chong leaned over, gasping out, B-boss. This really is your actual signature. I turned to the staff member. Excuse me, is it possible to review the surveillance footage from the day we registered? I'm deeply sorry, but we only retained security video for 6 months. The staff member reassured us. Our official procedures are absolutely error-free. Both individuals must be physically present simultaneously to complete the registration. The three of us walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau in silence. Lu Chong stood there completely dazed. Boss, what do we do now? Shun Yochu's eyes darkened. File for a divorce. Divorce. We both spoke in perfect unison once again. Lu Chong was left utterly stunned. I turned and asked her directly, do you want to discuss the terms of our divorce now? I will have my personal attorney contact you. Talk to my lawyer. Miss Shun and I spoke in unison for the third time. Defeated by the bizarre timing, I simply shook my head. Never mind. Let's each have our respective lawyers draft up an agreement and review it beforehand. If there are any issues, we can let the attorneys negotiate. Lu Chong sneered mockingly. A broke loser like you can actually afford a real lawyer? Shin Yuchu nodded her head in firm agreement. Lu Chong pulled out his smartphone and turned to Miss Shun. Miss Shun, let's add each other on WeChat so I can keep you updated. Add me on WeChat instead, so it's more convenient to stay in contact later. Shin Yuchu pulled up her QR code with a deeply meaningful look. The moment I scanned it, a chat box popped up, displaying the saved contact name right at the top. Silly granddaughter. Her face turned completely black with rage. I felt pretty embarrassed myself, having totally forgotten that I had already added her on WeChat long ago. Staring at her thoroughly pissed-off expression, I cleared my throat awkwardly. I just set that random nickname back then. Right in front of her, I casually changed the nickname to Silly Ernie U. Leaving a quick see ya, I hailed a taxi and drove off. Inside the car, I immediately placed a call to Ho Yu. Give me the absolute best divorce lawyer in the city. Under no circumstances will I let her take a single penny of my wealth. Boss, what on earth is going on with your marriage anyway? It's not like both of you suffered total amnesia, right? I let out a heavy sigh. There's definitely one person who knows the full truth. Wait, really? Could it be old Madam Shun? I knit my brows in deep thought. We need to rush the development of our clinical drug for Alzheimer's disease, to speed up the progress as fast as possible. No, that'll be way too late. The moment I arrived home, I found the little old lady sitting at the door with a massive suitcase. My dear grandson-in-law, you're finally back. Look, I brought a whole bunch of my clothes over. I froze in my tracks, utterly speechless, speechlessly accepting my utter defeat. Meanwhile, over in Tianhai City, the most prestigious law firm received two separate, anonymous high-profile retainers. Both clients aggressively demanded the exact same condition, that the opposing party wouldn't get to take a single dime of assets. The legal assistant couldn't help but complain. I've honestly never seen such a cold-blooded, ruthless couple in my entire life. The lead lawyer chuckled. Hey, we're earning two massive fees off one single case. Send the drafted agreements over to both employers immediately. Shortly after, Shun Yuchu received my proposed divorce agreement right at her office desk. The exact moment she opened the document, Lu Chong burst through the door. Boss, the background check results are finally in. Lin Yu only tried to register a marriage a few days ago, which was when he first discovered he wasn't actually single. However, during the several years after he was kicked out of the Lin family, a huge chunk of his personal background records simply vanished without a trace. It's exceedingly bizarre. Shin Yuchu fell into deep thought, her eyes narrowing. So you really believe he has absolutely nothing to do with all this? His true motives remain completely shrouded in mystery. On top of that top-tier lead researcher is notoriously elusive, and we still haven't managed to establish contact with him. Shin Yuchu remained entirely silent, lost in thought. What she didn't realize was that the groundbreaking clinical drug for Alzheimer's was actually being personally developed by me all along. Later that evening, Shin Yuchu summoned me to meet her downstairs. There's no point in dragging this out between us. Sign this. She fully expected me to refuse or make an excuse. Yet, I signed my name on the dotted line without a moment's hesitation. Why are you in such a desperate hurry to finalize this tomorrow? Because I'm on a tight schedule. Truth be told, my massive tech company was currently prepping for its public IPO. I'll see you at the Civil Affairs Bureau first thing tomorrow morning. Right as we were speaking, old Madam Shun unexpectedly stumbled downstairs. Her face deathly pale and void of color. Her voice trembled uncontrollably with horror. Why you two? I actually want a divorce. The second those agonizing words left her lips, her eyes fluttered shut, and she collapsed violently toward the hard floor. Out in the hospital hallway, the attending physician delivered a grim, solemn warning. The patient cannot suffer any more psychological shocks or emotional trauma. Whatever you do, do not provoke or anger her ever again. Shin Yuchu sat slumped on the hallway bench, her hands trembling uncontrollably with guilt and fear. The moment the old lady finally regained consciousness, she stared up at me, her voice hoarse and weak. I had a terrible nightmare that you and that stubborn girl were getting a divorce. That isn't actually true, right? I stood there in uncomfortable silence, unable to utter a word. Shin Yuchu quickly stepped forward, reassuring her softly. Of course it isn't true, Grandma. We're definitely not getting a divorce. So please, give me the household registry book and marriage certificates back. Shin Yuchu yielded to her every request without hesitation. The little old lady turned her teary eyes back toward me. Dear grandson-in-law, is that brat of a girl telling me the truth? Bearing the doctor's strict warnings firmly in mind, I paused for a brief second before nodding smoothly. It's completely true. Late that night, I sat on the couch, diligently reviewing complex English medical research papers, when a WeChat notification suddenly popped up on screen from Silly Erniu. We'll proceed with the divorce. Only after Grandma's condition stabilizes. I casually replied, fine by me. After all, with the legal agreement already fully signed and executed, a small delay made no real difference to me anyway. Shin Yuchu fired back another message almost instantly. What else do you want from us? As long as Grandma stays safe and healthy, I don't need a single thing. We will proceed with the divorce as quickly as possible. The little old lady glanced back and forth between the two of us, before suddenly blurting out, you stubborn girl, I want you to place my grandson-in-law inside the Shun group and arrange a proper position for him. Shin Yuchu paused briefly before replying coolly, that's easy enough. The old lady immediately perked up in high spirits. Starting tomorrow, you will head to work alongside that stubborn girl. And I smoothly agreed without hesitation. After all, the Shun group possesses a massive, comprehensive database, making it infinitely easier for me to dig up confidential information. Shortly after, Shin Yuchu stepped outside with Lu Chong in tow. Out in the hallway, Lu Chong whined anxiously to his boss. He's clearly scheming to infiltrate our corporate headquarters. Why on earth did you agree to let him in? Isn't it better to keep him right under my nose? That way, the second this sly fox exposes his tail, I'll catch him red-handed. Back inside the quiet hospital ward, the old lady gestured for me to lean in close, whispering softly, let me share a little secret with you. If that stubborn girl ever tries to bully you, you fight right back. Don't be fooled by her haughty, untouchable attitude. She's actually deathly afraid of cats. I was utterly taken aback by her words. It suddenly reminded me of a little girl I knew during my childhood, who also happened to be terrified of cats. Dear grandson-in-law, do you prefer cats or dogs? It hit me right then. I actually used to adore cats as a kid. But since that little girl hated them, I stopped liking them too. And very soon I came to realize exactly why the little old lady had asked me that question in the first place. The next morning, on the executive penthouse floor of the Shun group, a ridiculously cute little Shiba Inu was eagerly wagging its tail, happily trotting in energetic circles around my feet. Lu Chong stood there completely speechless. The crucial position Madame Shun demanded from Mr. Lin is seriously just taking care of this tiny puppy. Even Shin Yuchu was utterly bewildered and speechless. My official new job turned out to be a full-time dog walker, which was just absurdly hilarious. She immediately ordered to have me reassigned to the new Energy RD department, step by step, executing the exact setup she had planned all along. The new Energy RD department was the absolute lifeblood of the group's future growth. So, by placing me directly inside their core hub, she wanted to see what true colors or tricks I would pull. Honestly, I couldn't care less about her little test. I casually scooped up the puppy and followed behind Lu Chong, asking, does this little guy have a name? Old Madame Shun said you should be the one to name him. I glanced over at Shin Yuchu's thoroughly annoyed face and smirked. Let's just call him Kitten. The new Energy RD department was located up on the 38th floor. Inside the elevator, Lu Chong turned to me with a smug look, young Master Lin. Virtually all the research staff in the Shun Group's RD department hold prestigious PhD degrees, and even the lowest-ranking employee graduated with a master's from a top-tier university. Meanwhile, you're just an ordinary undergraduate with zero experience. So make sure you pay close attention and learn humbly from your seniors here. It'll do wonders for your future. After all, the boss personally arranged this golden opportunity just for you. Though, of course, you don't need to be overly grateful. This is merely the boss's reward for keeping the old madam happy. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly. Honestly, that was completely unnecessary. Oh, absolutely. Neither of you wants your relationship made public anyway, just to avoid any unnecessary corporate chaos when the divorce goes through. I cast a sideways glance at him. I happen to share that exact same concern. Lu Chong was instantly stunned, speechless. This penniless guy actually had the audacity to look down on the boss. My very first day on the job was shockingly breeze and relaxed. Nobody bothered assigning me a single task, which suited me just fine. I happily spent the morning playing around with the puppy right in the office. The moment the little guy finally dozed off, I quietly got up, locked the office door behind me, and slipped away to the private database on the 60th floor. Only by successfully synthesizing a cure for Alzheimer's and restoring the little old lady's lost memories could I finally uncover the hidden truth behind how this bizarre, mysterious marriage ever came to be in the first place. The vast collection of books and archives stored here covered cutting-edge, top-secret knowledge across a wide range of industries, including classified scientific data that was virtually impossible to access in the outside world. I felt a sudden surge of thrill and excitement. Meanwhile, up on the penthouse floor, Shen Yuchu received a sudden text message from old Madam Shan. Grandma's safe contact name had now been updated to Fragile Grandma, do not stimulate. You stubborn girl, make sure you take my dear grandson-in-law out for lunch at noon. And remember to snap a photo of you two eating together as proof. Kisses. Looking at the demand for a secret lunch photo, Shen Yuchu let out a long, helpless sigh and pressed the desk intercom button. Lu Chong, order 2 executive meal sets and bring them straight up. She then shot me a quick text message, which I completely ignored without even noticing. Arriving at the 60th floor database, I systematically searched through row after row of towering bookshelves, only to suddenly notice Shun Xian glaring sharply in my direction, while I remained completely absorbed hunting for critical research books, suddenly bumping straight into someone as I backed away. Sorry about that, I muttered, turning my head, only to find Shun Xing glaring right at me with a deeply complex expression. You went through all that trouble kissing up to Grandma, just so you could get closer to my aunt, didn't you? My expression instantly turned ice cold. That has absolutely nothing to do with you. My aunt has maintained a strict distance from men for years. Don't delude yourself into thinking you can hook her just with that face of yours. She isn't that superficial. After all, she casually threw you a completely useless throwaway position, just to brush you off. I let out a scoffing laugh. So according to your logic, the fact that you chased after me for so long just means you were the shallow one all along. I know you still harbor a grudge against me for proposing to Lin Fan, but I really had no choice. A wealthy, influential family like the Lins has endless factors to weigh. My mother would never allow me to end up with a commoner. Besides, I could never bring myself to marry an illegitimate bastard. I was simply securing my future. Then I truly owe you my thanks for not marrying me. I turned to leave, but Shun Xing aggressively stepped in to block my path. I can easily arrange for you to work in our group's core unit and have an industry heavyweight personally mentor you. I know how capable you are. With your brilliance, you'll master everything in no time. And what exactly are your conditions? Get a divorce and come back to my side. I refuse to share you with another woman. Just the thought of it drives me completely crazy. You don't deserve me. Why are you so hopelessly obsessed with that hoodlum's wife? Believe it or not, with just a bit of cash, or a quick warning from someone powerful, I could easily make him throw you away like trash. I didn't mean to shatter your fragile self-esteem. Since you're so intent on looking for trouble, I might as well lay it out plain and simple for you. My wife is infinitely drop-dead gorgeous compared to you, and her body is far more stunning than yours could ever be. Leaving those sharp words behind, I turned around to walk off. only to spot Shun Yuchu standing right around the corner. I instantly went silent. She stared back, equally speechless. Meanwhile, behind me, Shun Xing's eyes darkened with sheer malice. She whipped out her phone and dialed Lin Fan directly. Didn't you set up a dinner meeting with that top medical expert tomorrow afternoon? Take me along with you. I'm going to make that arrogant bastard regret ever crossing me. And Shun Yuchu used the excuse of taking me out for lunch to lead me all the way up to the executive penthouse floor. The moment we entered Shun Yuchu's luxurious office, she gestured toward the side table, cold and succinct. Eat first. I still felt a slight pang of guilt, observing her unreadable, icy composure. Thinking to myself, there's no way she actually heard what I said earlier, right? While I was lost in thought, the sharp click of a phone camera suddenly broke the silence. Shun Yuchu calmly snapped a photo and fired it straight off to Grandma. She then walked casually back over toward me, knowing full well why she took that picture. I didn't bother asking any questions, simply staring down at the spread, totally at a loss for words. Miss Shun's lunch spread was undeniably lavish and extravagant. The stunning woman gracefully took her seat directly across from me, elegantly picking up her chopsticks before remarking dryly, "After all, maintaining proper nutrition is essential for keeping a great body figure." I froze completely dead in my tracks. A sudden, furious blush flushed across my face, my eyes inadvertently darting over her fair, snow-white skin. Thoroughly mortified, I began packing up my food in a rush. "Miss Shun, I just remembered something," I blurted, abruptly rising from my seat. "Kitten hasn't been fed his lunch yet. I'll be taking my leave now. Thanks for the lunch, though. I'm in a fantastic mood today." Grabbed the bento box. I bolted out of the office as fast as my legs could carry me. Right after work, Shun Yuchu dialed her grandmother's number. "Grandma, where are you in the hospital?" "Oh, my heart suddenly flared up with pain again this afternoon. I need to stay hospitalized for a few more days." "You stubborn girl, are you coming over to keep me company tonight? If you can't make it, you'll just be leaving me all alone in this depressing hospital, so pitifully. I'm already on my way." "Now that's more like it. By the way, I already told my dear grandson-in-law. He's coming over to stay the night with me, too. Are you coming over together with him?" Shun Yuchu rubbed her throbbing temples in exasperation, seeing right through the old lady's transparent little scheme. She immediately fired off a text message to me. "I'll pick you up after work, and we'll head to the hospital together." My reply shot back almost instantly. "No need. I already hailed a cab, and I'm on my way there now." Even though she clearly wanted to maintain a healthy distance from me, seeing how strictly I kept my balance, Shun Yuchu felt an inexplicable wave of annoyance surge deep within her heart. Meanwhile, I strolled straight into the inpatient department carrying the puppy in my arms. Not far away, Madame Lin had just finished her medical checkup, with Lin Fan tightly clutching her arm. "Wasn't that Lin Yu just now? Why on earth is he wandering around the hospital? Could he be sick or something?" Madame Lin hesitated, unsure of what to say. Lin Fan grumbled indignantly. "Old Madame Shun strictly forbids anyone from visiting her. Yet she lets Lin Yu stay by her side. Judging by where he's heading, he must be going to visit old Madame Shun. Lin Yu sure acts like a dutiful, filial grandson." Nanny Nan chimed in bitterly. "Filial? Filial my foot. I've never seen him show an ounce of devotion toward Madame. Madame, why are you still making excuses for him?" Lin Fan sneered maliciously. "Lin Yu is an ungrateful leech who doesn't know the meaning of appreciation. I bet he's long forgotten who raised him. Word on the street is that Miss Shun secured a plush position for him inside the Shun group, which is the only reason he's brown-nosing old Madame Shun now. Madame raised him for years, a debt of gratitude higher than the heavens, yet you never see him repaying her." "All right, that's enough," Madame Lin sighed softly. Lin Fan continued dramatically. "Mom, you're far too kind-hearted. Real men repay even a drop of kindness with a whole spring. Take Dr. Yu, for instance. Mom barely sponsored him with a tiny sum of money back then. Yet look how immensely he's helped our family over the years. When our company was on the brink of total bankruptcy 3 years ago, Dr. Yu transferred his patented technology directly to us, completely pulling us out of the gutter." Madame Lin nodded in agreement. "Stacking them up like this, Dr. Yu is infinitely superior to that loser Lin Yu. Lin Fan added eagerly, I really want to meet her too. What kind of extraordinary woman is Dr. Yu's mother? Mom, make sure you take me along tomorrow. Fine, I'll take you with me. Unbeknownst to them, I was sitting quietly in the VIP ward, watching this entire scene unfold through the window from a sofa. My eyes lingered on Madame Lin. Her face wore an unhealthy, sickly pallor, while Lin Fan whispered sweet nothings in her ear, making Madame Lin nod her head helplessly. The mother and son displayed such heartwarming, intimate affection, until their luxury car finally pulled away and disappeared. Only then did I reluctantly pull my gaze back, turning around, only to find a little old lady standing right behind me. My dear grandson-in-law, who was that woman? She looks strangely familiar. My expression softened, and just as I opened my mouth to explain, her eyes suddenly lit up with realization. Aha, I remember now. She's your biological mother, isn't she? You two look so remarkably alike. In reality, Madame Lin and I don't look alike at all except for our face shape. Our features aren't even remotely similar. The only real resemblance between us is that exact, same ice-cold temperament. After all, ever since I left the Lin family, I've always subconsciously mimicked her sharp, decisive way of doing things, though I carry just a bit more hidden rage inside me. I looked down at the little old lady. She really isn't my mother. Nonsense. My dear grandson-in-law, how on earth could you fail to recognize your own mother? I was caught between laughter and tears, utterly helpless. Thankfully, Shen Yuchu suddenly appeared at the door holding dinner containers, having prepared a rich, sumptuous dinner spread for us. She even brought along a fruit platter for 3. But the little old lady immediately knit her brows the second she saw it. My grandson-in-law can't eat mangoes. He's severely allergic to them. Shin Yuchu paused, genuinely surprised. Grandma, how did you know that? Truth be told, I used to be allergic, but I underwent desensitization therapy 2 full years ago, a detail I had never once mentioned to her. The little old lady insisted proudly. You told me that yourself before. You said whenever he ate mangoes, his face would break out in tiny red bumps. My expression instantly turned dead serious. When before are you talking about? The little old lady's eyes drifted as she fell into confusion again. You know, like back before you two got married. A massive storm raged wildly within my heart, because I was absolute 100 sure I didn't even know her before we got married. Something about this situation felt deeply unnerving and surreal. I hurriedly pressed further. What else do you remember? For instance, how exactly did Miss Shun and I obtain our marriage certificate? The little old lady shook her head blankly, claiming she couldn't remember a thing. That's when I caught Shun Yochu's sharp, scrutinizing gaze locked on me, her face completely devoid of warmth. I knew right, then she must think I was playing manipulative mind games again. At this rate, I really wouldn't be able to clear my name even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Grandma, I'll take Kitten downstairs. You two go ahead and eat first. I'm going to take the dog for a quick walk. I slipped away to the far end of the hallway, quietly peering back toward the ward. Not long after, Shen Yuchu slowly walked up from behind. Young Master Lin, is there something you want to say? I assumed you demand an explanation from me. Oh, is there actually something young Master Lin wishes to explain? I looked her dead in the eye and answered earnestly what Grandma said about before the marriage. I genuinely have no idea what's going on. Such a deeply personal, intimate secret. There's no way the little old lady could have just pulled it out of thin air. I assumed she would grill me with endless questions, yet she merely recalled with icy calm how fierce I had just been. Miss Shun, you have to trust me. Shin Yuchu took a step closer, her tone dropping to a chilling sub-zero. Young Master Lin, I couldn't care less about whatever secret agenda you're harboring, as long as you can keep Grandma happy and content. I promise to ensure your safety in return. I suddenly realized she truly didn't care at all. So long as Grandma stayed happy, she would turn a blind eye to everything, even if it meant letting me pull schemes right under her nose. Her imposing aura suddenly flared. However, if you ever dare to hurt Grandma in the slightest, I will ensure you can never hold your head up in Haiching ever again. I let out a bitter, sarcastic sneer. Has a Miss Shin already ruined my reputation in this city, anyway? just as Shin Yuchu opened her mouth to snap back. Professor Wen's booming voice suddenly echoed down the hallway. Ah, Lan Yu, I was just about to give you a call. Have you managed to land a proper job yet? And have you cleared up that massive misunderstanding with Miss Shin? That Miss Shun is truly beyond unbelievable. How could she be so ruthlessly heartless? Not only did she starve you out and freeze your assets, she even threatened to wipe you out completely from Haicheng. Professor, please don't worry. Everything's been completely resolved. It was all just a big misunderstanding. Miss Shun is actually quite a wonderful person. Not only did she arrange a fantastic job for me, she even personally guaranteed my safety. Shin Yochu's face instantly turned as pale as ash. Professor Wen let out a massive sigh of relief, before glancing over at Shin Yuchu, subconsciously asking, "Is this lovely young lady your new wife?" Shin Yochu's face darkened into an absolute storm cloud. Meanwhile, the smirk on my face grew even wider. Professor Wen turned to Shin Yuchu and advised her with deep sincerity. "Young lady, your husband here is a really fine young man. So please, try to help him find a real, respectable job." At that very moment, back at the Lin family mansion, Lin Zhengnan was anxiously pressing for answers. Madame Lin sat at the table with zero appetite. "Dear, what's troubling you? Are you feeling unwell again?" Lin Fan chimed in with a fake, delicate sigh. "Dad, Mom, and I bumped into Lin Yu at the hospital today. And Mom's been worried sick about him ever since. Why on earth is she wasting her time worrying about that ungrateful brat?" Lin Fan sighed dramatically. "He must resent me so deeply. I'm terrified of what kind of lies he might spin in front of old Madame Shun. What if Miss Shun ends up taking her rage out on me?" Lin Jinan let out a disdainful sneer. "If that ungrateful brat managed to offend Miss Shun, what on earth does that have to do with you?" Right as he spoke, Lin Jinan's phone suddenly rang out loud. It was Shun Yochu's special assistant, Lu Chong. "Assistant Lu, what brings you to call me at this hour? Do you have any direct orders from Miss Shin?" "The boss instructed me to personally question Master Lin Fan." "When exactly did she ever claim she would make Master Lin Yu vanish from Haicheng? How is it that the boss herself was completely unaware of this?" Assistant Lu continued coldly. "Your Lin family truly excels at shameless fabrication, don't you?" Without waiting for a response, he slammed the phone down. Lin Fan dropped his head low, maintaining a tense, guilty silence. I saw Lin Yu relentlessly pestering Miss Shin back then. I was just terrified he'd ruin my upcoming marriage prospects with Sister Shin Xing, Dad. I swear. I really didn't mean to. Madame Lin sighed softly. "After all, Lin Yu is still our biological son. You were just confused." "How many times do I have to repeat myself?" Lin Jinan snapped furiously. "The only son I acknowledge in my heart is Lin Fan and Lin Fan alone. Who does Lin Yu think he is? Could a street rat like him ever hold a candle to you? Jinan, no matter what, Lin Yu is still your blood, flesh, and bone. Enough. If I hadn't been tricked by Lu Li back then, I would never have recognized that bastard as my son. In my heart, there's only room for you and our dear son." Meanwhile, Lu Li, who was standing silently to the side, disguised as a humble nanny, overheard every single word. She instantly clenched her fists in sheer, resentful rage, her eyes burning with venom as she glared at Lin Jinan. This was the very man she had loved so deeply for decades. Her childhood sweetheart from right next door. Yet, in this heartless man's eyes, Li Xia was the only woman who ever mattered. Back when she got pregnant and confronted him with a positive test, begging that she would happily settle for being his secret mistress, he had ruthlessly kicked her out without a shred of mercy, swearing he would never betray his precious wife. Desperate and left with absolutely no alternative, Lu Li had been forced to seek out Li Xia directly, begging on her knees just to secure a servant's place inside the Lin household. And for all these agonizing years, Lin Jinan had barely uttered a single word to her, while treating her biological son, Lin Yu, like complete invisible garbage. Fortunately, she had secretly swapped the two babies at birth. Lu Li bowed her head low, forcefully suppressing the sinister, triumphant smirk rising in her eyes. Lin Jinan will never, ever realize that while he constantly dotes on Li Xia's son, raising him up like a prized crown jewel, the poor soul he has tormented and discarded all these years is actually his true biological son. As for Lin Yu, he fully deserves to be ignored, crushed, and suppressed. Madame Lin stubbornly shook her head, not. Lin Fan was undeniably in the wrong here. Our family truly owes Lin Yu a sincere apology. Apologize? You expect my precious son to bow down and apologize to Lu Li's spawn over my dead body? He should be drowning in gratitude that the Lin family raised him at all. Teaching that ungrateful brat a harsh lesson is only natural. Later, when Lin Fan was escorting her back to her room, Madame Lin spoke up once more. Tomorrow, if you have time, I'll take you straight to Lin Yu's doorstep to apologize to him properly. Lin Fan's face turned deathly pale on the spot. Didn't you want to meet Dr. Yu's mother without any distractions, Mom? Let's just go visit her together tomorrow instead. Lin Fan's eyes gleamed with instant relief, tightly clinging onto her arm. All right, Mom, you really are the absolute best to me. As he left, Madame Lin looked at Nanny Nan with an expression filled with guilt and distress. This is all because of my frail health. I failed to discipline Lin Fan properly. What an utter failure of a mother I've been. Madam, you're overthinking things. Master Lin Fan is exceptionally filial and deeply considerate. These minor flaws can easily be fixed over time. Madame Lin muttered softly, Lin Yu, he never lies, before suddenly coughing violently. With Nanny Nan's support, she weakly stumbled over to the bedside, the heavy, suffocating secrets continuing to crush her soul. And just like that, the next day arrived. Ever since I woke up in the morning, I felt a nervous knot in my stomach. I hadn't seen Dr. Yu's mother in over 10 whole years. I had no idea if she'd be thrilled to see me, or if she'd fly into a furious rage. At noon, I headed back home to change into a clean set of clothes. Meanwhile, the little old lady demanded that Shun Yuchu accompany her home. As the two of them stepped out of the hospital ward and made their way downstairs, they immediately spotted Lu Chong walking toward them. Shun Yuchu gave him a polite, subtle nod, before Lu Chong handed me a folded sheet of paper. Young Master Lin, you might want to take a look at this. Written across, it was a long, impressive list. Distinguished professors of new energy from top domestic universities. I stared back at Lu Chong in complete confusion. These are experts, even far more renowned than Professor Bai. Lu Chong added smugly. Heavyweights who eclipse him in every single way. You can pick whichever one you prefer and continue your research under them. Consider this the boss's personal compensation for revoking your graduate recommendation. Honestly, young Master Lin, bumping into our boss is truly a blessing in disguise for you. Though if you're aiming to study directly as a PhD candidate. Lu Chong paused awkwardly. Well, that might be a bit tough to pull off. Dr. Yu is the hottest, most sought-after figure in the industry right now. A legendary genius professor like him only ever accepts prodigies as his students. I'm afraid a credentials like yours won't even catch his attention. Maybe don't set your sights so impossibly high right off the bat. The smartest move is to finish your master's degree first, and then apply for a doctorate program later down the line. I stared back at him like he was a total idiot, before turning directly to Shin Yuchu and saying, no need to drop me off, Miss Shun. I'll just hail a cab and head back on my own. Shin Yuchu fixated her icy gaze on my receding figure, before suddenly turning to Lu Chong with a sharp command. Go ahead and contact Dr. Yu on his behalf. Lu Chong froze in absolute, utter shock. Meanwhile, right at the entrance of an exclusive private restaurant, Madame Lin had arrived early alongside Lin Fan and Shun Xing. Shun Xing pushed open the heavy wooden door to the private room, where the tall, striking silhouette of a man immediately came into view, elegantly pouring a fresh cup of tea. Hello, Dr. Yu. I am Shun Xing from the Shun Group. It is an absolute honor to finally meet you. I slowly turned around to face them, and the instant Shun Xing saw my face, her jaw dropped in utter disbelief. Lin Yu, why on earth are you here? I should be the one asking you that exact question. Shun Xing's expression instantly frosted over. Don't flatter yourself. I didn't come here today for a worthless nobody like you. Where's Dr. Yu? I remained completely silent, refusing to utter a word. Just then, Madame Lin walked in, escorted by Lin Fan. The moment her eyes landed on me, they welled up with glistening tears. Lin Yu, is that really you? It's me, Madame Lin. How have you been holding up lately? Are you doing all right? Your father mentioned that you got married. I'm doing perfectly fine. I'm doing well too. Madam doesn't need to worry about me. Linyu, we should have invited you to join us for dinner today. But since you're working a part-time waiter job here, it wouldn't be very convenient, right? Don't worry, we'll leave you a generous tip later. Consider it interest on the life debt I owe you. Lin Fan, shut your mouth. Madam Lin snapped defensively. Linyu, we actually booked a private meeting with the prestigious Dr. Yu today. Aren't you also majoring in a new energy field? Why don't you stay and let me introduce you to so you can network. It could be extremely beneficial for your future career. Lin Fan was terrified I'd snatch away his resources. So he picked up a scalding cup of tea and strode over to me. Linyu, Mom keeps forcing me to apologize to you. So I'll toast you with tea instead of wine as a peace offering. The very next second, he intentionally loosened his fingers, sending the piping hot tea plummeting straight toward my clothes. I nimbly sidestepped the falling cup, which bounced hard off the table and splashed right back on a Lin Fan. Scalded by the high temperature, he shrieked loudly in pain. Linyu, I know you despise my guts, but how could you be so maliciously cruel? Oh, my bad. I genuinely didn't see that coming. Shun Xing barked angrily. Linyu, is this how you treat customers as a waiter? Physically assaulting the guests. Call your manager over right this instant. I am filing a formal complaint against you. Lin Fan feigned magnanimity. Forget it, we're all family. Mom, Fairy Sister is just angry on my behalf. Why don't we have Linyu step outside for a moment? To prevent any further conflict? Madam Lin looked at me with an expression drenched in guilt. Linyu, please come back home for a visit whenever you find time. Next time the opportunity arises, I'll personally introduce you to Dr. Yu. Lin Fan hastily cut in to derail the topic, Mom. Why on earth hasn't Dr. Yu arrived yet? I curled my lips into a smirk and declared calmly, he's already here. All three people in the private room turned their heads in unison to stare at me. Madam Lin opened her mouth, just about to ask what I meant, when she suddenly broke into a violent, breathless, coughing fit and collapsed directly onto the dining table, unconscious. Madam, Lin Fan bellowed hysterically. Linyu, what did you just do to my mom? Mom, wake up, please. Mom, hang on. The ambulance will be here any second. I tried to step into the emergency vehicle with them, but Shun Xing roughly grabbed my arm. Keep your filthy hands off Madam Lin. If you end up angering her to death, I swear I'll never let you off the hook. I immediately hailed a taxi and trailed them all the way to the hospital. The hallway was packed with patients, with not a single emergency bed available. Observing this frantic mess from the upper floor, Shun Yu Chu instantly turned and commanded Lu Chong, go arrange a private ward for young Master Lin's family. The front desk nurse picked up the phone before suddenly announcing over the speaker that a top-tier VIP suite had miraculously just been freed up. Lin Fan cheered excitedly. Sister Shun Xing, you really are incredible. You solved it in a snap. Shun Xing silently took credit for the favor, and the group rushed into the luxury ward. I attempted to quietly follow them inside, but Lin Fan aggressively blocked the doorway, sneering, Linyu, my mom needs complete peace and quiet right now, so don't you dare disturb her. And with that, the heavy door slammed shut right in my face. I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart consumed with overwhelming anxiety. Yet I didn't even have the right or qualification to step inside. All I could do was slump helplessly onto a cold wooden bench. Before long, a barrage of rushed, frantic footsteps echoed down the corridor, as Lin Jinan stormed toward the ward with a face full of panic. Only after double-checking that Madam Lin was stabilized and out of danger did he drag Lin Fan out into the hallway, frowning deeply as he demanded, what on earth happened in there? How could your mother suddenly pass out? Lin Fan threw a sly, venomous glance at me, sitting nearby. It must have been when Linyu got into a heated argument with Dr. Yu and Sister Shun Xing earlier. That's what worked Mom up into such a rage. Lin Jinan's eyes instantly flared with murderous rage, and without uttering a single word, he raised his heavy arm and swung a brutal slap straight at my face. I didn't even bother to dodge or brace myself. My mind was completely consumed by Madam Lin's deathly pale, feeble face. Perhaps Lin Fan was right all along. My very existence was nothing more than a curse and a misfortune to her. Yet, the stinging impact of the blow never came. I slowly opened my eyes, only to behold a cold, commanding silhouette standing tall right in front of me. Shen Yuchu stood firm as a fortress before me, as if she were single-handedly shielding me from the collapsing sky. Lin Jinan pulled his hand back, stymied and flustered, and Miss Shun. He may be your adopted son, President Lin. So under normal circumstances, I shouldn't be meddling in your family affairs. However, old Madam Shun adores him dearly right now. And if she spots any fresh bruises or wounds on young Master Lin's face, she will be utterly heartbroken. Shen Youchu's voice echoed with a rich, resonant, and chilling elegance. Lu Li sneered maliciously under her breath. Mocking me, look at you. How pathetic. Always trying to curry favor with her. Huh. She's just treating you like a stray cat or dog. I clenched my fist so hard my knuckles turned white, forcing myself not to cause a scene right outside the ward door. Outside the door. Shen Yuchu caught every single word of that toxic insult, her sharp expression instantly freezing over with terrifying frost. Lu Chong picked up on his boss's lethal aura in a heartbeat, clearing his throat with a dry cough as he stepped into Madame Lin's room. On behalf of Miss Shun, I'm here to offer our formal condolences. May I ask if you find this ward comfortable? A suffocating, dead silence instantly fell over the room. Everyone turned their heads in disbelief to stare straight at Shen Xing, whose expression turned completely pale and panicked, leaving Lu Fan rooted to the spot in total, utterly stunned shock. Lin Fan immediately put on a flattering smile. Miss Shen Xing. It turns out this VIP ward was actually arranged by you through Miss Shen all along. Shen Xing's complexion turned deathly pale in an instant. Lu Chong chuckled lightly with mock politeness. Actually, young Master Lin asked the boss to arrange this personally. Miss Shen Xing, did you reach out to our boss as well? Shen Xing was so utterly humiliated she wished a hole would open up in the ground to swallow her whole. I made so many calls back then, and pulled favors with several different people. I must have gotten things confused. Lin Fan clenched his fists tightly, burning with unbearable shame and embarrassment. And Madame Lin broke the tense, awkward atmosphere. Please express my gratitude to Miss Shun. This ward is truly comfortable and lovely to stay in. Once my health improves a bit, I'll definitely pay a visit to old Madame Shun. Please focus on getting your rest, Madame Lin. As long as you are recovering smoothly, our old lady will be more than delighted. This was crystal clear favoritism toward me, and the hearts of everyone else in the room sank straight to the bottom. Only Madame Lin was genuinely filled with joy, while Lu Li, standing nearby, wore her bitter jealousy and sneering contempt openly on her face. Lu Li was fuming with rage. What on earth are you so smug about, you little brat? Shut your mouth. Lin Jinan barked out in a furious scolding. After seeing off old Madame Shun, Shen Yuchu stood quietly in the hospital corridor. Lu Chong quickly trotted over to report, Boss, I've looked into it. Young Master Lin went to that private restaurant to work a temporary waiter gig, which was where he ran into the Lin family. Shen Yuchu's voice sounded crisp, yet coolly questioning. Is the living allowance the Shen Group provides him too meager? Otherwise, why would he ever need to work part-time outside? Actually, it's quite generous. It was personally arranged by the old lady herself. Perhaps the task his supervisor assigned him was far too challenging, and he was terrified of getting fired. Shen Yuchu felt that the whole situation wasn't nearly that simple. And what was the Lin family doing at that private restaurant in the first place? They had booked a meeting with the legendary Dr. Yu, and Miss Shen Xing tagged along solely because of that. And what about Dr. Yu? He didn't show up in the end. A sharp flicker of deep calculation glinted in Shen Yuchu's eyes. I suddenly have a rather absurd, outrageous thought. Meanwhile, after getting some rest in the VIP ward, Madame Lin's energy and spirit had improved significantly. Lin Fan suggested that Shen Xing head back home first, feeling immensely awkward and embarrassed, since Shen Xing had only stayed behind purely to catch a glimpse of Dr. Yu. Madame Lin suddenly realized, hand me my phone. I completely missed my appointment today. I need to explain everything clearly to Dr. Yu, and wait for Madame Lin to reschedule our meeting. Only after that did Lin Fan escort Shen Xing out of the room. Out in the hallway, Lin Fan said reassuringly, Sister Xinxing, please don't worry. There definitely won't be any issues regarding Dr. Yu. Since I'm currently working in the Shun Group's RD department, where quite a few people remain skeptical of my capabilities, if I can personally invite Dr. Yu to join our team, I'll take full credit for the breakthrough. That's why securing Dr. Yu is so immensely critical for me. You must help me convince him no matter what. As the two of them stepped into the elevator, I stepped out from around the corner, pushing the door open to enter the hospital room. Lin Jinan's face instantly darkened. What on earth are you doing back here? Is that you, Lin Yu? Let him in. Madame Lin's faint, soft voice called out. Lin Jinan glared at me with a stern warning, telling me not to upset his wife again. When she interjected softly, I told you already. Today's episode wasn't Lin Yu's fault at all. I just haven't been able to sleep well for days. She turned to me with gentle eyes, gently clutching my hand. Poor child, you must have been terrified today. Her palms felt so tender and warm. And I smiled, shaking my head, not at all. Make sure to come back home and visit more often in the future. And bring your new wife along, too. Your father claimed she was some uncouth street punk, but I refuse to believe that nonsense. You've always been such a sensible, sweet child since you were little, with such exceptional taste. Anyone who managed to catch her must surely have amazing qualities of her own. Be sure to bring her over so I can meet her another day. My eyes welled up with stinging tears before she suddenly broke into another fit of violent coughing. I quickly pulled out a small, unlabeled plastic bottle. I specially commissioned someone to acquire this for you. Take just one pill whenever you struggle to fall asleep at night. Madame Lin nodded warmly and gently urged me to rest, so I stepped out of the ward. Yet through the door, I caught Lin Jinan's disdainful voice echoing from inside. He actually brought you this junk. Who knows which shady, back-alley clinic he bought this cheap, unverified medicine from. He carelessly tossed the pill bottle straight into the trash can. Late that night, Madame Lin woke up once more, overwhelmed by such unbearable anxiety that thoughts of ending it all crept in. Impulsively, she retrieved the pill bottle from the trash can and swallowed one pill. A refreshing wave of coolness instantly wrapped around her burning, itchy throat, and she drifted off into a peaceful, heavy sleep. At 10 a.m. the next morning, Madame Lin was gently nudged awake by Lin Jinan, realizing she had slept completely undisturbed straight through until daylight. Madam, the sleeping pills the doctor prescribed yesterday were a miracle worker. You actually managed to sleep uninterrupted for 10 whole hours. Nanny Nan's eyes turned red with sheer excitement. What sleeping pills? Madame Lin asked, her voice brimming with sudden intensity. Nanny Nan threw a quick glance at Lin Fan. Miss Xinxing sourced them specifically for you. She went out of her way to find powerful, specialized sleep aids to mix right into your regular medication regimen. Who would have guessed they'd prove so insanely effective? Madame Lin froze in total shock, suddenly realizing her throat felt remarkably clear and soothingly restored. Her eyes instinctively darted toward the unlabeled plastic bottle sitting beside her pillow, while Lin Jinan turned to lavish endless praise upon his ideal prospective daughter-in-law. Everyone in our circle adores this young lady. She truly is one of a kind. I heard the inpatient department has been completely jammed lately. Yet Xinxing pulled countless strings and called in every favor, just to lock down this luxurious suite for us. We truly owe her a massive debt of gratitude this time around. Lin Fan eagerly seized the moment to strike while the iron was hot, Mom. Sister Xinxing treats you with such genuine, filial devotion. Won't you please do her a small favor in return? Her family wants Sister Xinxing to take full charge of their RD department, but the senior researchers refuse to take orders from her. If you could somehow persuade Dr. Yu to step in as an off-site technical consultant, Sister Xinxing could finally solidify her authority once and for all. Madame Lin hesitated for a brief, conflicted moment. I can only promise to bring it up with Dr. Yu, but if he declines, we drop the matter immediately. Lin Fan's face instantly lit up with smug satisfaction, because in his arrogant mind, as long as Madame Lin was the one asking, the legendary Dr. Yu would never dare say no. Madame Lin pulled out her smartphone, locating Dr. Yu's profile picture in her chat list. After carefully drafting her words, she sent off a message, Xiao Yu. Do you happen to have a quick moment? I'd like to ask you for a small favor. Right as the notification pinged, I had just finished walking the little old lady around the courtyard downstairs. I stared down at my phone, my eyebrows knitting tightly together. What could Madam Lin possibly be reaching out to me for? Did something go wrong with the custom medication I gave her yesterday? That formula was technically still undergoing strict clinical trials, which meant her condition might have taken a turn for the worse. I had only taken it out early as an absolute last resort. Considering our deeply complicated past connection, I immediately asked the escort to guide the little old lady back to her room, before rushing frantically to Madam Lin's side. Shortly after, I arrived outside the VIP ward, only to hear Xing and Luli bursting into cheerful laughter. The exact moment I stepped through the door, the lively laughter ground to a sudden halt, making me instantly feel like an unwanted outsider. Seeing that Madam Lin was utterly fine, I lowered my head, planning to quietly turn around and leave, when Luli sneered loudly, "Oh, if it isn't young Master Lin. Now that you've managed to climb your way up to old lady Shun's high and mighty status, I guess simple folk like us aren't even worthy of your gaze anymore." I turned around, intending to walk away, only to be aggressively grabbed by her. "I heard all about your little tricks. Now you're bending over backward just to kiss up to old lady Shun, serving her hand and foot all night long. Do you seriously delusionally believe she'll ever view you as her real grandson? What kind of pathetic daydream are you living in? To them, you're nothing more than an entertaining little pet." Lin Fan hastily cut in, "Aunt Lu, don't put it so harshly. Old lady Shin truly places great value on him." Luli raised her voice, snorting in complete mockery. "Great value? What kind of value is that?" "Miss Shunxing is the one who genuinely values you, Lin Fan. Remember yesterday when the hospital said there wasn't a single room available, and even prestigious families were forced to wait in line? It was Miss Shunxing who pulled string after string to get your mother admitted into this luxury VIP suite." Shunxing glanced over at me, offering a faux humble smirk. Annie just isn't aware of how things work behind the scenes. Otherwise, she probably would have helped out too. Besides, it was really just a minor favor on my part. Luli scoffed viciously. Even if Miss Shin knew, she wouldn't give a worthless loser like you the time of day. She continued mocking me mercilessly. "How can someone like you ever hope to please her? Huh? She's just treating you like a stray cat or dog." I clenched my fists until my knuckles turned white, forcing myself not to ignite a loud fight in the hospital room. Right then, Shan Yuchu, who was approaching from outside the door, overheard every single one of those vile words, her expression instantly freezing over with terrifying frost. Lu Chong caught his boss's deadly aura in a split second, clearing his throat with a dry cough as he stepped into Madam Lin's ward. "On behalf of Miss Shun, I'm here to offer our formal condolences. May I ask if you find this ward comfortable?" A suffocating, dead silence instantly blanketed the room. Everyone turned their heads in utter disbelief to stare straight at Xing, whose face turned pale with shock, leaving Lin Fan completely frozen in dumbfounded silence, exposing his shameless, kiss-ass groveling toward Miss Shunxing for the total sham it was. So this luxury ward was actually arranged by you through Miss Shin all along. Shunxing's complexion turned deathly pale in an instant. Lu Chong gave a mock-polite smile. "Actually, young Master Lin asked the boss to arrange this personally." "Miss Shunxing, did you reach out to our boss as well?" Shunxing was so utterly humiliated she wished a hole would open in the floor to swallow her whole. I made so many frantic calls back then, and pulled favors with several different people. I must have gotten things confused. Lin Fan clenched his fists so hard they trembled, burning with unbearable shame. Madam Lin broke the stifling, awkward tension. "Please express my deepest gratitude to Miss Shun. This suite is truly comfortable and wonderful to rest in. Once my condition stabilizes, I will definitely pay a visit to old Madam Shun. Please focus entirely on your recovery, Madam Lin. As long as young Master Lin can put his mind at ease, our old lady will be more than overjoyed." This was a blatant, undeniable display of favoritism toward me, and the hearts of everyone else in the room instantly sank into complete despair. Only Madam Lin was genuinely touched and filled with joy, while Luli, standing beside her, displayed her bitter jealousy and sneering contempt openly on her face. Luli boiled over with rage. "What on earth are you so smug about, you insolent brat? Shut your mouth." Lin Jinan barked out in a furious roar. "My wife is extremely sick and needs absolute peace and quiet. Why are you all wasting time causing a scene in here? Get out and go home right now." Luli glared at me with pure, venomous hatred, covering her flustered face as she stormed out, while I turned my gaze back toward the fragile lady on the hospital bed. "How did you sleep last night, madam?" Madam Lin subconsciously reached her hand out, tightening her grip around the small pill bottle hidden beneath her blanket. "I slept extraordinarily well. It's been years since I last enjoyed such a peaceful, uninterrupted slumber." "That's wonderful to hear. I'll be taking my leave now." I turned around and exited the room alongside Lu Chong. Shin Yuchu was leaning casually against the hallway wall, quietly browsing her phone, the soft overhead lights highlighting her mesmerizing, icy Psy profile. The moment she saw me step out, her lips parted slightly as she spoke in a cool tone. "Grandma was worried about you, so I had to come over and check on things myself." Although her voice sounded distant and detached, a sudden surge of overwhelming warmth overflowed within my heart. Suddenly, the door to the ward swung open, and Xin Xing and Lin Fan walked out together. The second they caught sight of me, standing side by side with Shin Yuchu, Lin Fan looked as though he were confronting his worst nightmare, while Xin Xing subconsciously blurted out a sharp, questioning demand, "Aunt, what on earth are you doing here?" Shin Yuchu shifted her cool, indifferent gaze onto her. "I don't recall needing to report my whereabouts to you." That crushing, suffocating aura instantly caused cold sweat to break out across Shun Xing's palms. She gave me a strangely subtle glance before addressing me. "Young Master Lin, you've been spending all your time at the hospital taking care of Grandma. Doesn't your new wife mind?" I was a bit taken aback by her question, completely setting aside Shin Yochu's non-existent cooking skills. As my dutiful, legally wedded wife, she wouldn't mind something like that. Shin Xing's expression darkened dramatically, when Shin Yuchu suddenly cut in coldly. "Aren't you heading back to the room? Grandma is still waiting for you." I smiled gently and replied, "Right, let's head back." The two of us turned around and walked away together, leaving Shun Xing behind, her eyes burning with bitter resentment. Meanwhile, back in Madame Lin's ward as Nanny Nan was making the bed. "Why on earth is this bottle of medicine under Madame's pillow?" Lin Jinan scowled in total annoyance. "Isn't this that shady, unbranded junk Lin you handed her yesterday? Wait, how did that garbage end up back here?" I actually took one pill last night, and it felt like." Madame Lin attempted to explain, but Lin Jinan barked, "How could that possibly be? It was obviously the specialized sleeping pills Shun Xing got for you that took effect." Lin Jinan snatched the bottle away aggressively. "Who even knows what sketchy back alley stall he bought this crap from? What if swallowing this stuff permanently damages your health? Don't throw it out. I want to try taking that one again tonight, to see which medication is actually working." Late that night, Madame Lin broke into another agonizing coughing fit. Nanny Nin quickly fed her the sleeping pill that had been praised as a miracle cure. Yet it did absolutely nothing to ease her suffering. Madame Lin's face flushed deep red as she gasped painfully for air, prompting Nanny Nan to rush over and retrieve my medicine from the bedside drawer. Just as she was about to administer the pill, Lin Fan grabbed her wrist tightly. "Mom, your coughing is getting progressively worse. Could this dangerous reaction be triggered by this exact medicine? It's far safer not to swallow remedies of completely unknown origin." Lin Jinan flared up in explosive outrage as well. "You treated that ungrateful brat with nothing but unconditional love. Yet he actually dared to use poison to ruin your body." Madame Lin was coughing so violently she couldn't utter a single word, staring pleadingly at Nanny Nan with desperate eyes. Nanny Nan, fiercely loyal to her mistress, braced herself against the overwhelming pressure and popped the pill straight into Madame Lin's mouth. Within seconds, the agonizing coughing ceased completely. Madame Lin let out a long, relieved sigh of air. I am absolutely certain it was Lin Yu's medicine that worked this miracle. Stepping out into the adjacent waiting room, Lin Fan's face turned deathly pale as he muttered, "Dad. Could Lin you have actually managed to buy that top-tier custom remedy? With his pathetic level of connections, what could he possibly pull off? That expensive medicine was definitely bought for him by Miss Shun." Lin Jinan scowled in deep thought. It really seems like Madame Shun holds him in extremely high regard. Meanwhile, inside the luxury VIP ward, Shin Yuchu was sitting beside her grandmother, casually chatting. "Grandma, what did you end up having for lunch today?" The little old lady paused, pondering hard. "Wasn't it plain white porridge?" "Wait, no. It was those shredded pork noodles that ugly girl made, right?" Shin Yuchu offered a gentle smile and nodded. Though her heart sank into complete despair, she had actually eaten rice for lunch. Grandma was slipping up again, her memory loss seemingly deteriorating at an alarming, heartbreaking rate. I suddenly spoke up in a relaxed, nonchalant tone. "Hey, Grandma, what color were Miss Shun's earrings yesterday?" The little old lady perked up instantly. "Purple. They were vibrant purple. That rotten girl is always so ridiculously picky about her outfit details. Oh, and her diamond cufflinks. The day before yesterday, she wore blue ones. I was the one who bought her those exact blue gemstone earrings." I gave a meaningful smile and glanced toward Shin Yuchu, proving that Grandma still remembers every single detail about the people she deeply treasures. Shin Yuchu locked eyes with me for a brief second, watching me lounge comfortably on the sofa with my phone, exuding a completely relaxed and grounded posture, realizing I had done that purely to comfort her. In an instant, her anxious, restless heart felt miraculously settled and calmed. The little old lady suddenly beamed at her grandson-in-law. "Did I get everything right just now, dear?" I gave a firm nod and smiled. "Spot on, Grandma. See that, you rotten girl? My grandson-in-law even pays attention to what you wear down to the exact detail every single day. He truly holds you deep inside his heart." I froze on the spot, completely caught off guard. I honestly just happened to glance over and remember those details, with zero intention of trying to flirt or get closer to her. I opened my mouth, eager to clarify the misunderstanding, only to see Shun Yuchu staring intensely at her laptop screen, totally ignoring us. Yet what I failed to notice was the faint, delicate blush creeping over her ears. Shaking it off, I went back to analyzing the clinical data on my phone, trying to crack the ultimate solution to cure Alzheimer's disease. Still coming up empty-handed regarding my RD assignment, I decided to stretch my legs and take a walk. Just as I stepped downstairs to take the dog for a stroll, a sudden heavy hand slapped hard against my shoulder. I turned around, only to see Lu Li standing there with a sneering middle-aged man. "Meet my uncle, Lu Yaowang, the big boss who controls the casinos in Las Vegas." "It's been a long time, hasn't it, kid?" I immediately took a cautious step back. "What on earth do you want?" "Oh, nothing much. Word on the street is that my dear nephew has been bending over backward to suck up to the wealthy Shun family. Your dear uncle's been a bit strapped for cash lately. How about you lend me a neat sum of money?" I sneered coldly. "I don't have a single cent for you." "Come on, you've been catering to that old woman so obediently. You're telling me she didn't hand you a massive payout?" Lu Yaowang squinted his eyes greedily. "Even if she hasn't yet, she's bound to shower you with cash eventually. So don't just stand there laughing like an idiot. You'd better cough up that loan for your uncle right now. If you offer a generous enough sum, your uncle might just let you in on a juicy little secret." He cackled mischievously before strutting away, leaving me snickering at his sheer absurdity. Suddenly, my phone vibrated and rang loud. I glanced down at the screen to check the caller ID. It turned out to be Madame Lin calling me. Meanwhile, back in a hospital ward, seeing that Dr. Yu had been taking forever to reply to the text, and with Shun Xing constantly nagging him for updates, Lin Fan quietly swiped Madame Lin's phone while she was fast asleep, locating the contact saved as Xiaoyu in her address book, and dialed the number immediately. The moment the call connected, my clear, distinctive voice echoed through the speaker. "Is there an issue with Madame Lin's condition?" Lin Fan froze completely in sheer shock. His eyes widened in utter disbelief upon hearing Lin Yu's voice. Yet his delusional pride refused to accept the horrifying truth. Recognizing his voice, my tone instantly chilled to sub-zero temperatures. "Lin Fan, why on earth are you calling me from Madame Lin's personal phone?" Lin Fan stuttered out in complete disarray. "WY, is it your phone number? What kind of cheap trick are you playing here?" Then, realization suddenly hit Lin Fan. Lin Yu's name also contained the character, and Madam Lin would occasionally address him affectionately as Xiao Yu. He let out a huge sigh of relief, convincing himself it was all just a pathetic misunderstanding. Putting on a smug, arrogant front, Lin Fan sneered into the receiver. "I'm calling to give you a reality check. You and I belong to two entirely different worlds. I'm going to marry Sister Shun Xing in the near future and become the honorable, rightful son-in-law of the elite Shun family. Is that so? Then congratulations. In a high society powerhouse, relying on mere emotions gets you nowhere. With the legendary Dr. Yu backing me up from behind the scenes, I hold the ultimate trump card to stay forever undefeated." As the line went dead, the corners of my mouth twitched in utter amusement. Since when on earth did I become Lin Fan's secret weapon? Right then, the contact saved as Xiao Yu on Madam Lin's phone suddenly fired off another green chat message. "Is this Lin Fan?" I switched on my voice changer before answering the call. Lin Fan's tone instantly became excessively polite and respectful. "Hello, Dr. Yu. I apologize for taking the liberty to disturb you like this. My name is Lin Fan, the son of Li Xia. The Shin Group would like to formally invite you to join our RD team. In fact, this is my mother's personal wish as well. Would you happen to be interested?" I coldly cut him off. I'm strictly responsible only for enterprises operating under Madam Lin's personal name. With that, I hung up the phone immediately. Fast forward to Monday morning. It was time for me to head back to work at the Shun Group. Just as I stepped out of the hospital and was about to hail a taxi, a sleek Bentley pulled up and came to a firm stop right beside me. Shin Yuchu kept her eyes fixed straight ahead. "Get in. Grandma ordered me to give you a ride to the office." Shin Yuchu glanced over at me, prompted me to take a quick photo, so I climbed into the back seat. She held up her phone and snapped a quick selfie of the two of us together, while I flashed a peace sign, grinning brightly for the camera. Though the atmosphere felt a bit awkward, we eventually arrived at the company, and I headed straight up to the 60th floor archive database. At that very moment, the RD department was officially announcing Shun Xing's promotion to vice general manager, claiming it was because she had successfully recruited the legendary Dr. Yu. Meanwhile, inside the top floor executive suite, Lu Chong was busy reporting my whereabouts. Young Master Lin went to check on research materials. He's been spending the entire morning reading down in the database library and hasn't even had lunch yet. A subtle gleam flickered in Shun Yochu's eyes, and she went downstairs all by herself to find me. Standing in front of the cranial neurology bookshelf, I was balanced precariously on a rolling ladder, reaching for the most advanced reference material on the top shelf. The moment I finally grabbed the book, I was ecstatic. In my excitement, my foot slipped right off the rung, and I lost my balance. I tumbled down and landed directly on top of Shin Yuchu, pinning her beneath me. Realizing it was her, I scrambled up in a frantic panic. "I am so sorry. I swear I didn't mean to do that just now." Shin Yuchu slowly pushed herself up, her ears turning beet red, though she tried her best to play it cool and unbothered. With the air between us turning suffocatingly awkward, I quickly made up a flimsy excuse to slip away. Before stepping out, I took that crucial reference book and tucked it away in an inconspicuous corner of the shelf. I plan to head back to the library later this afternoon. I'm heading straight back to the library this afternoon, only to discover that the book had completely vanished. My mind was instantly flooded with endless questions before I immediately realized what must have happened. There was only one person in the entire company who could take that high-level book at will. Up on the top floor, Shin Yuchu was casually flipping through that obscure neurology manual, her brow furrowed in deep concentration. Lu Chong, thinking he knew what his boss wanted, said softly, "Young Master Lin is just trying to gain your favor. He didn't even come to do actual work today." "Is that so? He wasn't hired for regular work in the first place." Shin Yuchu replied with an icy, nonchalant tone. Lu Chong then asked if he should return the book to the library, prompting Shun Yuchu to gently tap her fingertips against the hardcover, as those expectant, sparkling eyes of mine from earlier flashed across her mind, sending an inexplicable wave of warmth straight to her chest. No need for now, she murmured. When quitting time finally arrived, the sleek Bentley remained parked quietly in the underground garage. Lu Chong turned around and asked if they were ready to leave. There's no rush. Shin Yuchu simply sat there, clutching the heavy reference book tightly in her hands, waiting patiently until I finally opened the door and climbed inside. Before she finally looked up and calmly ordered, "Let's go." Lu Chong was completely dumbfounded on the spot. It turned out the boss wasn't leaving until young Master Lin was riding with her. Upon returning to the hospital, the moment we reached the VIP ward, we overheard Lu Li's sickeningly sweet, flattering voice pleading with the old lady. "I came all the way here specifically to visit you, so it really feels like fate brought us together." Old Lady Shun blocked her right at the doorway, shouting sternly, "If you dare take another step forward, I'll have the bodyguards beat you half to death." Lu Li let out a forced, awkward laugh. "I'm Lin Yu's mother, you know. Don't you cherish him the most, old lady? For his sake alone, you shouldn't treat me with such hostility. You are not his mother." Old Lady Shun declared with absolute certainty, "Madam Lin is his real mother." Lu Li was instantly struck by a wave of terror, cold sweat drenching her back. How? How could you possibly know that?" she blurted out, her entire body trembling in sheer horror. The secret swap of the infants was known only to her and her older brother, Lu Yaowang. So how on earth could old Lady Shun be so undeniably sure? Catching sight of me approaching alongside Shin Yuchu, Lu Li quickly swallowed her panicked guilt and put on a fake front. She hurried over to me, holding out a thermal flask. "Lin Yu, my sweet boy, Mom brought you some freshly brewed chicken soup. You've been exhausting yourself taking care of the old lady day and night. Drink up and nourish your body." I just felt total disgust and demanded sharply, "What on earth do you want now?" "There's only 2% of the family company's shares left. Old Lady Shun holds you in such ridiculously high regard. If you just ask, she'll definitely agree to step in and save your brother. Otherwise, in front of Shun Xing, he won't even be able to hold his head up high." I stared at her with ice-cold eyes and spat. Not a chance. Her face instantly twisted with rage, and she collapsed onto the floor, wailing loudly. "I suffered so much pain to bring you into this world. Yet the second you climb up to a wealthy family, you turn into a heartless monster. Everyone, come take a good look. My own son is nothing but an ungrateful, traitorous snake. Do you seriously care more about being her fake grandson than your own blood?" The surrounding medical staff and passers-by began pointing and whispering, while I stood there silently, watching her dramatic spectacle, an overwhelming sense of deep exhaustion creeping up inside me. "Keep making a scene. The moment you disturb the patient's rest, security will drag you right out." With that, I brushed right past her without looking back. Enraged, Lu Li screamed, "You ungrateful, rotten snake." She leaped to her feet and hurled the scalding chicken soup straight at my back. Suddenly, a pair of slender, cool hands yanked me firmly into a warm embrace. Shin Yuchu shielded me from behind, taking the entire wave of scalding hot soup directly onto her own body. My pupils dilated in sheer shock. I frantically turned around and asked, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." She knitted her brows in pain, glaring at the terrified Lu Li, who scrambled into the ward to hide. Inside, the little old lady anxiously tugged at Shun Yuchu's clothes. "Take it off quickly. Let me see how badly you got burned. Are there any blisters forming? Does it hurt terribly? Grandson-in-law, hurry over and apply the burn ointment for her." The little old lady shoved the tube of medicine into my hands and promptly kicked everyone else out of the room. "My grandson-in-law, she's all in your hands now." With the door shut, only the two of us remained in the quiet ward. Shin Yuchu whispered softly, "Grandma is just talking nonsense. Go call a nurse in. I'll do it." I stepped up right behind her. The warm twilight rays bathed her smooth, exposed back in soft light. I scooped a dab of cooling ointment onto my fingertips and gently applied it to her skin. She didn't make a single sound throughout the entire process, until the soothing cream completely covered the red, irritated burn marks. As she rearranged her hair, she murmured softly, "Young Master Lin. Thank you. You're welcome. Though honestly, you really didn't need to take that hit for me. If you get hurt, Grandma will be utterly heartbroken. Shin Yu-Chu turned her head and stared at me intently. Have you forgotten that you're currently my husband? My heart suddenly skipped a chaotic beat. I couldn't help but feel that the current Shin Yu-Chu seemed to be acting just a little bit different. As I stepped outside, my mind raced with what to do next. My initial plan was to hunt down Lu Li and make her pay, only to spot Lin Fan and his uncle, Lu Yaowang, whispering in the hallway. Lu Yaowang rubbed his hands together greedily. My good nephew, your dear uncle is a bit tight on cash again. Lin Fan blew a fuse instantly. I literally just gave you your allowance for the month. There's no way I can keep funding you like this. If you don't cough up the cash, I'll just tell Lin you the whole truth. I bet he'd gladly pay me a massive fortune for it. Without hesitation, I pushed the door open and stepped out into the hall. My voice was ice cold. What truth are you talking about? Lin Fan leaped back in utter terror. What on earth gave you the right to eavesdrop on us? Ignoring him completely, I locked eyes with Lu Yaowang. Go on, spill the truth. I can definitely give you all the money you want. Oh yeah? Just how much are we talking about? Lu Yaowang's eyes instantly sparkled with blind greed. Lin Fan panicked in total frenzy. Fine. I'll find a way to get you the exact amount you asked for. Just get lost right now. Before leaving, Lu Yaowang leaned over and whispered in my ear, my dear nephew, my secret offer will always be open for you. As long as you can outbid him with a higher price, I'll definitely sell it to you. I immediately sent a text to Chiyue, ordering a full background check on Lu Yaowang. Turning my head, I saw Lin Fan desperately trying to sneak away. I remarked faintly, there's no secret under the sun that stays hidden forever. Did you really think I wouldn't uncover what's going on between you and Lu Yaowang? I have no idea what garbage you're spewing. What kind of filthy dirt does he have on you? To make you hand over protection money every single month? Stop talking absolute nonsense. If you take my advice, you'd better get a paternity test done ASAP, or start planning an exit strategy for yourself, instead of wasting your precious time trying to target me. By the way, where's Lu Li? Isn't she supposed to be your mother? How am I supposed to know where she went? Lin Fan scrambled away in a hurried, frantic escape. I whipped out my phone and dialed Lu Li directly. I suggest you get back here immediately and apologize to Miss Shun. Not a chance in hell. That ruthless Miss Shun will destroy me. You go apologize on my behalf. After all, you're my biological son. If that's your attitude, then don't blame me for calling the police. Why on earth would you call the cops on me? I'm your own birth mother. The woman I try to hit is the one who beat your mother. Oh my God, where's your loyalty? With a sharp click, I hung up the phone instantly, leaving her whining in vain. In the end, for assaulting Shin Yu-Chu, Lu Li was placed under police detention for 48 hours, while Shin Yu-Chu was conducting an urgent conference in her RV downstairs. I sat quietly by the bedside and murmured, I'm sorry, Grandma. The little old lady rolled her eyes fondly and scoffed, silly boy. Why would family members ever say something so distant? Besides, seeing my stubborn granddaughter step up to protect you like that, I couldn't be happier. Hearing the word family made a sudden wave of heat sting my eyes. Meanwhile, Lin Fan managed to scramble together $50,000 to hand over to Lu Yaowang, warning him in a cold sweat, you better keep your filthy mouth shut tight. Otherwise, if I go down, both of us will end up ruined. In truth, he was utterly consumed by fear, desperate to marry Shin Xing as fast as humanly possible, because as long as he secured his status as the official son-in-law of the elite Shin family, even if his fake identity was exposed, he would still have a rock-solid safety net. At 9 p.m., Shin Xing suddenly barged in to see Lin Fan. Lin Fan was caught off guard with delight. Sister Shun Xing, what brings you here so late? Shun Xing demanded in a sharp, pressing voice, regarding Dr. Yu, are you 100% certain you've personally spoken with him? Lin Fan's eyes darted around nervously as he lied. Of course I have. Then arrange a face-to-face meeting between me and Dr. Yu right now. Lin Fan nervously wrung his fingers behind his back. Well, Dr. Yu just flew abroad. I'll set up a meeting the moment he returns to the country. Sister Shun Xing, is there a specific technical bottleneck you need resolved? I can act as your intermediary and contact him for you. Shun Xing locked her eyes on him with deep suspicion. I've already forwarded the problem details to your email inbox. Send it to Dr. Yu immediately. Sure thing. If you need Dr. Yu's help to solve this, I'll forward it over to him right away, knowing Madam Lin's email password inside out. Lin Fan had long discovered that Dr. Yu would always reply to Madam Lin's emails almost instantaneously, and never asked any probing questions. Bold enough to fabricate a complete lie, he whipped out his phone and operated the screen frantically, forwarding the attachment on the spot. Dr. Yu usually replies to my messages within seconds. Just give a brief moment. Meanwhile, inside the quiet VIP ward, my phone suddenly vibrated on the table. I casually glanced down at the screen. It was an email sent from Madam Lin's account, reading, Xiaoyu, could you please help solve this technical issue? The attached file was indeed a technical review document from the Shen Group. I let out a cold, amused chuckle. Lin Fan actually had the nerve to ask me for help under the disguise of Madam Lin's name. I typed back an ice-cold response. I'm strictly responsible only for the Lin family's affairs. Technical issues regarding the Shen Group fall outside my scope of authority. A notification pinged loudly on Lin Fan's phone. He eagerly opened the email, a smug, triumphant grin plastering his face. Yet the very second he read the actual response, his cheerful smile instantly froze solid. Shen Xing raised an eyebrow in suspicion and demanded, well, what did he say? Sweat dripping down his neck, Lin Fan stumbled over his words nervously. Forcing a fake, awkward smile as he lied, Dr. Yu said that this specific problem is complex and will take a few days to fully solve. Shen Xing let out a deep sigh of relief and nodded. That makes sense. This technical issue is indeed exceedingly difficult. I made a firm bet against Lin Yu's research group. We must have a working solution ready before Friday. Will Dr. Yu be able to deliver in time? Absolutely no problem, Lin Fan replied, his eyes darting around in frantic panic. Later that evening, when Shen Xing returned home to the Shen estate, her father, Shen Yuanjia, actually smiled at her warmly for the very first time. You truly are my capable, brilliant daughter. To think you managed to secure the famous Dr. Yu himself, solidifying your authority over the RD department in one swift move. Her mother, Lu Meijin, was tears of joy as well. Shen Xing clenched her hands into tight fists, since she had chosen this ruthless path of political marriage. She would never allow herself to look back with regret. As for Lin Fan, he was nothing more than a convenient pawn destined to be hers to control. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, I suddenly sneezed out of nowhere. Brushing it off, I continued grinding away diligently at my desk. Noticing my water glass was completely empty, a delicate hand suddenly reached out right in front of me. Shin Yuchu brought a freshly poured glass of warm water and set it softly on the coffee table. I blinked in utter surprise, and she murmured, "You're welcome." Shin Yuchu then casually sat right back down in her seat as if nothing happened. Watching the silent chemistry between us, the little old lady beamed with joy, grinning from ear to ear, already enthusiastically flipping through a heavy dictionary to pick out names for her future great-grandson. The next afternoon, while I was taking a short break in the RD department, Shun Xing suddenly blocked my path. There's an exclusive industry summit on new energy tech happening tonight. Every single attendee is a top-tier tycoon or pioneer in the field. Word on the street is that the legendary Dr. Yu might personally make an appearance. I didn't even slow my pace, replying flatly, "So, what?" The Shen Group's RD department received an official VIP invitation card. I could easily bring you along with me, allowing you to network and expand your high society connections. Not interested? Thanks, but no thanks, I uttered coldly, pushing past her into my office without looking back. My team leader, Lin Yinxiao, burst into a mocking laugh. Did you really think a single invitation pass was enough to buy him over? Lin Yu is nowhere near that short-sighted. Shun Xing's face turned icy cold as she spat back. You'd better wake up and smell the reality. Only I have the power and status to provide him with elite, top-tier resources. A high-class gala like that is an exclusive event that just anyone can waltz right into. At the very least, I'm the only one capable of bringing him along as my guest. As the workday came to an end, Lin Yinxiao called out to me, "I've got a networking gig tonight. I don't mind having you tag along with me, so come on." I quickly fired off an overtime text to Shin Yuchu before hopping straight into Lin Yinxiao's car. However, right at the grand entrance of the reception hall, The usher stopped Lin Yinxiao in her tracks. I apologize, Ms. Lin. The official attendee list for the Shun Group's representatives tonight was pre-submitted and finalized long ago, and your name is simply not on the roster. Just then, Shun Xing strutted out swirling a glass of champagne, looking down her nose at our team leader with a smug smirk. Given how swamped Group B is with their heavy workload, I naturally assumed you wouldn't have time to attend, which is why I went ahead and declined on your behalf when submitting the list. It seems a bit too late to add your names now, so you two had better just pack up and head back home. Lin Yinxiao boiled over with intense fury. Shun Xing, you've completely crossed the line. What gives you the right to decline on my behalf? I am the Vice General Manager of the RD department. Of course, I have the absolute authority to make executive decisions for you. Shin Xing then turned her icy gaze toward me. So, Lin Yu, do you see the reality clearly now? Without my explicit approval, you won't even be able to take a single step through these doors. I remained completely unfazed by her arrogant posture. Is that so? I calmly pulled up my email inbox, locating the exclusive digital VIP invitation sent directly by Chiyue, and flashed the screen right in front of the usher. Will this be sufficient for us to enter? The usher took just a single glance at the screen and instantly bowed with immense respect. My deepest apologies. Please step right in. Shun Xing's face instantly turned as dark as storm clouds, staring in utter disbelief at the top-tier VIP invitation displayed on my phone screen. Under what fake capacity did you manage to drag your hands on that? How I got it is absolutely none of your damn business. I turned off the screen with a click and glanced over at Lin Yinxiao. Shall we head inside? Lin Yinxiao was pleasantly stunned, snapping back to her senses as she led me into the venue, eagerly introducing me to various industry moguls and veteran tech executives. Suddenly, Lin Fan and Shun Xing came walking over with grand airs. The moment the senior executives caught sight of Lin Fan, they immediately swarmed around him in a tight circle, flattering him endlessly. Young Master Lin, when will the legendary Dr. Yu make his appearance tonight? Please give us a hint. Lin Fan thoroughly soaked in the surrounding praise and adulation, putting on a haughty, reserved front. I'm merely here to accompany my lovely fiancée tonight. Shun Xing seized the perfect opportunity to flex her status and build elite connections, effectively pushing Lin Yinxiao straight to the outer edge of the crowd. Lin Yinxiao leaned in and whispered to me that she was waiting for Chiyue to return. You don't need to feel embarrassed at all. Just thicken your skin, step up, and offer him a toast. Countless people are dying for a chance to get close to him. The corners of my mouth twitched in sheer amusement. I'll personally introduce you to him in a bit, team leader. Lin Yinxiao just assumed I was bragging through my teeth. Suddenly, a massive commotion broke out right at the entrance. Chiyue had finally arrived on the scene. Lin Fan smugly adjusted his designer suit and strutted right over to me, mocking, Hey Lin Yu, do you need me to do you a huge favor and introduce you to Mr. G? Shun Xing joined in with a venomous sneer. Do you seriously think Chiyue is the kind of shallow woman who falls for looks? How many handsome guys have tried to hit on her and failed miserably? She wouldn't give a damn about a nobody like you. Do you actually believe you're that irresistibly charming? Lin Fan then arrogantly led Shun Xing straight toward Chiyue to greet her. Before Lin Fan could even finish uttering his greeting, Chiyue brushed past them like a gust of cold wind, ignoring them completely, under the shocked, bewildered gazes of the entire crowd. She practically sprinted over to me with overwhelming joy. Boss, what on earth brings you here? That single, explosive sentence plunged the entire banquet hall into a suffocating, dead silence. Lin Fan's outstretched hand remained frozen awkwardly in midair, the arrogant smirk plastered on his face failing to vanish in time, instantly morphing into a hilariously pathetic look of utter terror. Shun Xing was even more completely frozen on the spot, the champagne glass in her hand slipping and almost shattering on the floor. Mr. G, are you out of your mind? Did you make a mistake? Lin Fan stammered out frantically with his mouth agape. He's just Lin Yu, a useless, freeloading bum in our family. Chiyue didn't even bother giving him a single glance, keeping her fiery, respectful gaze locked entirely on me. Boss, I sent you dozens of emails begging you to attend this summit, and you kept telling me you were too busy. So you were actually doing an unannounced inspection. Huh? I chuckled helplessly. I'm just tagging along to help my team leader handle some personal errands. What? Shun Xing let out a sharp, ear-splitting shriek, her voice distorting in sheer hysteria. You actually called him boss? Isn't he just that useless, gold-digging Lin Yu who leeches off his wife? Chiyue's eyes snapped ice-cold as she whipped her head around toward her. Miss Shun, you'd better watch your filthy mouth and show some respect. The man standing right in front of your face is the untouchable, legendary technical genius, whom your entire Shin group could only dream of recruiting. The mysterious figure who never reveals his true face, Dr. Yu himself. Before she could even finish her sentence, a thunderous, collective gasp of utter shock erupted through the entire crowd. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Lin Fan completely lost his mind, pointing his trembling finger right at me as he shrieked hysterically. Dr. Yu has clearly been in direct contact with my mother all along. How on earth could he possibly be this worthless bastard? Just what kind of insane bribe did you offer Ji-Yu to get her to play along in this ridiculous, fake circus with you? I couldn't even be bothered to hide my disgust, fixing him with an ice-cold glare. Lin Fan, you secretly stole Madame Lin's phone to send those emails, didn't you? Did you really think I wouldn't notice that Dr. Yu strictly handles only the Lin family's affairs? Did you enjoy the reply you just received? Lin Fan's face instantly drained of all color, turning deathly pale. His legs buckled under him, and he collapsed pathetically onto the hard floor. Shun Xing swayed unsteadily on her feet, looking like she was about to faint, her wide, unfocused eyes locking onto me, filled to the brim with suffocating regret and sheer absurdity. She had always assumed I was pathetically drowning in the mud, constantly trying to humiliate me with a paltry sum of $50,000. Yet in a mere blink of an eye, I had become the untouchable god she could only look up to. Right at that tense moment, a massive uproar broke out near the main entrance. Supported gently by Nanny Nan, Madame Lin actually stepped into the grand hall. Her complexion looked rosy and vibrant, her posture poised and steady, not showing a single trace of the frail, terminally ill patient she was just yesterday. Madame Lin marched straight past the stunned crowd, right toward me, tears welling up in her eyes, that life-saving medicine. You personally developed it for me, didn't you? I gave a simple nod. Are you feeling any better? It worked miracles. Madame Lin turned her head slowly, casting a freezing glare at Lin Jinnan and Lu Li, her voice ringing out ice-cold and unshakable. Jinnan, haven't you been desperately trying to meet the legendary Dr. Yu all this time? He's standing right in front of your face. And as for my trusted assistant, Chun Jie, he has already confessed the entire hidden truth to me. Nanning stepped forward aggressively, glaring daggers at Lu Li. Liu Li, did you truly believe that swapping the newborn infants in the hospital back then would stay hidden forever? I've been quietly investigating and watching you for all these years. As a mother, you showed absolute cold indifference toward your own biological son, yet showered another woman's child with bizarre, unhinged devotion. I knew something was deeply twisted long ago. So I went ahead and conducted an official paternity test. She violently slammed the DNA report right onto the floor. Lin Jinan picked up the paper with trembling hands. And the second he saw the official non-matching results, he whipped around in a furious rage, landed a thunderous, brutal slap straight across Lu Li's face. How dare a worthless whore like you swap your dirty bastard child for my real heir? Lu Li let out a blood-curdling shriek. She collapsed onto the ground, completely paralyzed with fear. Lin Fan stared at the DNA report and shrieked in absolute despair. No, this is fake. I am the legitimate young master of the Lin family. I am a sole rightful heir. I looked down at the chaotic spectacle with ice-cold eyes. Status, wealth, prestige, and those biological blood ties that used to shackle me now meant less than a feather in my eyes. Boss, the car is ready waiting outside. Chiyue leaned in and whispered a gentle reminder. Just as I turned around to leave, my hand was suddenly pulled by a soft, gentle touch. Unbeknownst to me, Shen Yuchu was standing right behind me the whole time. She had changed into an elegant black evening gown, concealing the painful burn wound on her back beneath the fabric. Yet the way she looked at me was no longer distant and icy like before. "Linyu," she murmured softly, her tone carrying a subtle, vulnerable reliance she didn't even realize herself. "Grandma is still waiting for us at the hospital so we can go home together." I turned my head to look at her, feeling the softest corner of my heart gently tugged. "All right, let's head back." The moment we stepped out of the banquet hall, Shunxing came sprinting out after us, tears streaming down her face like rain as she sobbed hysterically. "Linyu, I was wrong. I was so completely wrong. Can we please go back to the way we were in college?" I didn't even bother slowing my pace. Without giving her a single glance, I tossed back a cold line. "Miss Shun, you used to say that an illegitimate bastard and a thug made a perfect pair. I'd say you and that fake fraud Lin fan right now are truly a match made in hell." Behind us, echoing in the night, was Shun Xing's desperate, heart-wrenching wail, while right ahead lay the dazzling, brilliant night skyline of Haicheng. Inside the car, Shen Yuchu suddenly brought up my neuroscience textbook out of nowhere, "By the way, what do you plan on giving me back my book?" I raised an eyebrow and smirked at her. "President Shun, are you cross-examining your husband now?" She quickly looked away, staring out the window, the tips of her ears turning a faint shade of crimson. "I'm just worried that the famous Dar, you might run off one day, and Grandma will literally tear down the entire Shun Corporation in anger." I let out a soft chuckle, reaching out to wrap my arm around her delicate shoulders. This time, she didn't pull away. "Relax, our contract hasn't expired yet. Besides, your fake husband hasn't even been officially promoted to a real one yet." 3 months later, the targeted cure for Alzheimer's disease. The day the groundbreaking clinical drug was successfully developed. Autumn rain washed over Haicheng for the very first time this season. The moment I stepped out of the research laboratory, I caught sight of Shun Yuchu waiting right at the entrance, holding a sleek black umbrella in her delicate hand. Her slender frame was wrapped in that familiar, elegant ink-black dress I had seen countless times. The hem of her skirt damp from standing outside for so long, with tiny, sparkling raindrops glistening on the ends of her hair. "Grandma insisted that I come personally to pick you up," she murmured softly. To think the mighty CEO, Shun, would personally act as my chauffeur. I put on a dramatic face of sheer flattery. Regarding that signed divorce agreement, she paused. Grandma completely tore it into shreds. "Oh, what are we supposed to do now then?" She declared that since she finally secured such a brilliant grandson-in-law, she will never allow you to leave. The custom medicine you developed was delivered to Grandma, and she begins her very first course of treatment tonight. "Thank you, Linyu." She looked directly into my eyes. Looking at her tender gaze, a sudden urge to tease her welled up inside me. A simple verbal thank you. Is that all I get? She froze in her tracks for a brief second, clearly not expecting such a playful line from me. Her usually cold, expressionless face, perpetually frozen like ice, instantly betrayed a rare flicker of adorable confusion. I couldn't help but chuckle softly, reaching out to gently ruffle her soft hair. "Just teasing you." She stared up at me with wide, glittering eyes, yet she didn't pull away from my touch at all. Before long, the car pulled up right outside the grand gates of the old Shun estate. The vehicle came to a smooth halt. A breathtaking ray of golden sunset painted the evening sky, with a sweet little old lady was already waiting impatiently at the front door. The second she saw us step out of the car, she beamed with a radiant smile and rushed straight over, grabbing my arm in one hand and pulling Shun Yuchu with the other, steering us straight into the house. "Hurry inside. I've been eagerly waiting for us to have dinner together." At the dining table, the lively old lady kept piling delicious food onto my plate. before turning around to scoop even more delicacies into Shun Yochu's bowl. Rambling happily, my dear grandson-in-law, you must eat more. And you, stubborn brat, eat up too. Both of you have gotten so thin. For once, Shun Yuchu didn't even attempt to refute her stubborn brat nickname, quietly enjoying her meal in peaceful silence, only stealing shy, subtle glances up at me every now and then. My precious grandson-in-law and my stubborn granddaughter, listen closely. I have something important to tell you both. I finally remember it all now. How you two actually ended up registering your marriage. I remember every single detail now. My dear grandson-in-law, you don't hold any grudges against me, do you? Of course not, I replied, making the little old lady nod in utter satisfaction. She glanced back and forth between the two of us once more. Otherwise, as the saying goes. So, when on earth are you two planning to hold the Real wedding ceremony? Shin Yuchu couldn't sit still for another second. Bolting up from her chair, ready to make a quick escape. The little old lady immediately lunged forward and grabbed her before she could run. Look at you, already married yet still so shy. I couldn't help but smile warmly as I watched this wholesome scene unfold. A sudden realization washing over me. This cozy warmth was probably the exact kind of life I'd been yearning for all along. Shin Yuchu finally managed to break free from the little old lady's firm grip. Walking over to my side and whispering softly, "Let's go," I stood up gracefully and bade the sweet old lady a warm farewell. She beamed radiant smiles while waving her hand, secretly slipping a tiny folded note into my palm. The moment I got into the car, I unfolded the note. Scrawled on it was a line of neat handwriting. Dear grandson-in-law, if that stubborn girl ever tries to bully you, just let me know. I'll personally help you teach her a good lesson. I burst out laughing, unable to hold back my amusement. Shun Yuchu leaned over curiously to take a quick peek, falling dead silent for 2 whole seconds after reading the message, before coolly remarking, "Well, Grandma's handwriting is actually quite elegant." I turned my head to look at her, and her eyes met mine in the dim lighting. "What on earth are you smiling at, Linyu?" she asked suddenly. I stared back in her eyes and chuckled softly. I was just thinking how incredibly lucky I am. Didn't spend a single penny, yet somehow landed such a top-tier wife. I thought our marriage was just a complete fake. But now, it feels like it's turning into absolute reality. She locked her gaze onto me for several quiet seconds, before shyly averting her eyes and staring out the car window. Yet I caught it clear as day, the subtle, gorgeous smile curling up at the corner of her lips. The car glided smoothly through the dark night, as the dazzling city lights of Haicheng blurred continuously outside the window. And Shin Yuchu, I called out her name softly. "Do you have a minute?" She turned her head back to look at me, and I met her gaze straight on, a tender, unmistakable warmth gleaming in my eyes. Let officially tear up that divorce agreement. She went silent for 2 tender seconds, before letting out a quiet, gentle om-om. It was a barely audible whisper, yet it sounded heavier and more profound than all the sacred vows in the world. Outside the car window, the deep Haicheng night wrapped around us in perfect harmony, and I have a feeling that this is really just the beginning. Thank you all so much for sticking around on this journey with us.